Okay, for those of you wondering, the archive stream is now running, so we will have a YouTube archive over the next 12 hours. Nobody panic.
So now we've got we'll have the entire 24-hour thing archived. We still have to figure out what we're going to do overnight.
Are you guys going to get mad if I do that? People watching on tomorrow are going to get mad if I like move the stream.
If you what?
I'm not going to touch the other ones, but if I move tomorrow over to a new stream, you guys are going to be chatting.
What would happen? Would Tony and I lose the chat room as well?
No, it'll be just tomorrow, just so we have an archive.
I got you.
So it gets recorded in 12-hour chunks on YouTube.
Man, I like your toys, Lisa. That would be so cool to have that stuff.
Okay. Gregorius doesn't care. Alley Cat doesn't care. All right. Give me a second. Let me switch this all over. For some reason, my internet is getting incredibly slow right now. Maybe YouTube hates me for all the different things I've got going on. All right. All right, first things first, I'm going to stop that one. Okay, cool. All right, so we're about 9 minutes out, guys. You excited? It's going to be 2019.
Yeah. Going to be.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm very excited. Who's that with you, Christian? Your sound is bye-bye. No here.
We don't have Christian at all? What happened?
How about now?
Now we can hear you.
Do you hear me now?
Yes. We're good to go.
Great. I am joined once again by Dr. Heidi Hamill. And Heidi, we're getting so close now to the first milestone, right?
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
So, I'm just realizing, Heidi, it's New Year's Eve. We're counting down to midnight. How does this compare to Grateful Dead New Year's Eve, 1982 at the Fillmore, when Bill Graham, dressed as a wizard, was flying down on a giant blunt and handing out confetti? How does this compare to that?
How did you even know I was there?
Oh, I could just sort of tell. It's in your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. It's a similar kind of level of excitement. There's an energy. People know something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And, we kind of know the structure. We know the form, but we may not know the details. And so it's pretty exciting. Looking forward to it. Maybe not as many balloons, but still a whole lot of fun. Maybe not Sugar Magnolia, but, we get Ultima Thule. So.
I think we kind of, I can always hear that. Ultima Thule, blossoms blooming. All right, never mind. Anyway, just wanted to bring Heidi back on for a quick New Year's wish. But this is so exciting. Happy New Year to you, Heidi.
Happy New Year.
All
Happy New
right.
Year, Heidi.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. There she goes.
All right.
Happy New Year. Okay. So, as you heard, wow, there's like a lot of noise out there.
Yeah, it's I live out in Central Florida in the rural area, and we got a lot of fireworks going on out here right now, so they're gearing up. It's getting ready.
We've got 7 minutes now? 7 minutes.
Yep.
7 minutes.
Now, am I switching over or not to NASA?
Yeah. We'll let you go ahead and switch over. Because we want to make sure people get to see that song and hear that song. It is an amazing piece.
Should I do it?
It's gonna
before.
I think you should. I'm trying to figure out. Let me take a look here. When does that video come up, or when does that song come up? You said it's going to come up at midnight on the spot, right?
Or 2 minutes after, according to the schedule you have here. So
2 minutes after. Okay, so if we did Happy New Year here. Would you have enough time to cut over? Or
yeah, I'll do the best I
can.
Well, except the NASA TV suddenly buffering. Let me. They got 5,000 people watching now. There it goes. All right, I have the stream. So
Okay.
I think we're there. All right.
Oh, I better go restart my Facebook again. Oh, I've gone past 4 hours on Facebook, so I better make a new one.
I know we've done it twice on my. No one's really watching on my Facebook page, so don't worry about it. I only had a few people on mine.
Redo it every 4 hours.
They're just going to sell out to the Russians anyway.
All right, 5 minutes till New Year's. I'm excited.
You should affix the flag to your selfie stick.
Oh, we're coming right down to it, Bill.
He looks surprised.
So here we are, guys. On New Year's Eve.
At the edge of the solar system.
At the edge. That's just what's so surreal about this. I mean, it's New Year's Eve. We got a ship at the edge of the solar system. I don't know. I mean, it's unlike anything I've ever done before.
That's something I would cross half the country for.
Yeah, I mean, so you hail all the way from the great state of Illinois, right?
That's right.
Fantastic. So, this is not your first time though, because you've been to a couple of other flybys, right? What was your first flyby?
Voyager 2 going by Neptune in August of 1989.
Wow.
Oh, that must have been cool.
I had heard so much stuff. It sounded like so much fun when I heard people talk about Voyager going by Jupiter, Voyager going by Saturn, Voyager going by Uranus. And around the time of Uranus, I figured out, like, maybe there's some way I could contrive to be there, and Neptune will be the last one for a really long time. And I asked and tried to pull some strings, and I didn't get anywhere. And then finally, it turned out the National Space Society needed me, and I became a science writer for a week. And there's a really long and complicated story that goes with that, which I'm not going to tell right now.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I worked for a week, like turning, because I know enough science to understand, a technical presentation and then turn it into language that anybody can understand, I hope.
So you were there as a science writer. That was the farthest encounter in the solar system ever attempted until
July 14th, 2015, when I came to the New Horizons flyby right in this very building, and I got to see what happens when a spacecraft encounters a planet for the first time again.
Okay, so now that was the second farthest encounter ever attempted, and here you are for a third time.
I'm a three-timer. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Wow, awesome. So there you go. Bill Higgins, ladies and gentlemen, a man about the solar system.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So why don't we go ahead, Tony, and let's cut over to the NASA stream because they're about to debut the song.
Okay.
Planetary flyby in history. Now, Ultima might be the space rock of the hour, but we've got a rock star much closer to home. Brian May, astrophysicist, New Horizons contributing scientist, and lead guitarist for the rock group Queen. Tonight, will debut a song inspired by New Horizons for this audience and an audience all around the world. Brian, like, New Year's is exciting enough. We get to celebrate it witnessing space history.
This is a night to remember. I'm so privileged to be here and be a part of this. Fantastic. We will never forget this moment.
You know, everybody always asks for the new year, what are you going to do in the year ahead? But we don't have to wait that long. There's some cool stuff happening in the next couple of days.
I can't believe what we're going to see. The thing is, we have no idea what we are going to see, which is what makes it so great, isn't it? So this is completely unknown territory, which is what makes us all so excited at this moment.
Okay, I think we need to get people stirred up. I mean, we've got 20 seconds to the new year. Everybody ready?
We're 20. We're 19.
There we go. Look, just a few more minutes. We'll count down 2018. And boy, do we have something left as we get past that new year. We are at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yay!
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Welcome 2019.
Happy New Year, folks. It's a time for kissing and hugging, right?
Absolutely.
To do some of that.
They failed on old anxiety.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Well, I'm going to work a little bit.
Oh, great.
To you right now, the world premiere of this new theme for New Horizons. Thank you.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Ready? Roger.
15 seconds. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We have liftoff of NASA's New Horizons spacecraft.
The revelations of New Horizons may help us to understand better how our solar system was formed.
No one's ever seen before.
it's a worthy tribute.
What an amazing way to start the new year. It was incredible.
Fantastic. I'm very happy.
Well,
thank you for that response. Thank you for that. Thank you for dancing, you know.
I was hoping nobody would see that.
It was you.
We are going to continue our countdown to Ultima Thule. Happy New Year. We're going to come back on the air at about 12:20. In the meantime, we're going to listen to some other things that others have to say about New Horizons. We'll see you soon.
See you in a minute.
Hello,
All right, we are. Oh, is Christian gone?
No, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but yeah, there you are.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
So here comes. Let me see if I can turn this around. Here comes Dr. May. As you can see, the security is sweeping us all away.
Be proud as heck.
And here he comes, ladies and gentlemen. Here comes my interview with Dr. Brian May.
And there goes your interview.
Be proud.
Can I get him, or can I get him?
You nailed it, man. You got it. That was some great journalism right there, dude. That was nice. Way to paparazzi. Is that a verb, paparazzi?
So I've got my cup of champagne. Obviously, this merits a toast to you and to the TMRO team and all the people joining us on the stream. Cheers. Happy New Year. Happy 2019. May we all have a far better year than...
You're right. Cheers, Christian. Lisa, Happy New Year. Here's to another great year in the golden age of astronomy.
It's a lot. So
I thought that song was awesome.
I thought it killed. I mean, I loved it. I mean, that song, you know, it sounded like a Queen song, honestly. Like you know what I mean? It's like kind of what you'd expect, but only space. And I really dug it, man. I thought it was fantastic. How'd you all like it too?
Yeah, that was a really cool tribute. It was amazing.
Let me relocate just a little bit here, so that I can. Well, I'm live, so you don't come on if you don't want to. Okay.
Yeah, get away.
I know she's a little shy. I know she's a little shy, but that was Dr. Helen Hart. Helen actually spent the last 2 years solid building the sequence that is executing on board the spacecraft right now. That was her only job, to build that sequence. And she built it and rebuilt it and rebuilt it and rebuilt it and rebuilt it. So she was extremely mission critical.
Okay, Christian, can you hold the mic closer to your mouth?
Yes, okay.
That's
I'm going
better.
to just try to move to where I can hopefully give you guys a better shot, a little bit of a better overview. Is this okay?
Yeah, that's better. We can hear you now. I couldn't hear almost anything you just said. So,
I apologize. Okay, so what I was saying is that Helen Hart's responsibility was...
No. I can't hear you again. Hold it up. No, just hold the mic up to your mouth.
Oh, I see. Well,
Yeah.
I got this.
Oh, I see. You got hands. You got selfie sticks and alcohol. You can't be messing with that sound right now, Tony. What's your problem, man?
I'm double fisting it, yo.
Yo, yeah, okay. You got stuff to do. You got New Year's to ring in. Better and better. Yes.
Okay. So I've got my microphone up my mouth. Hopefully, you can hear me a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Lisa, I hope you're. What are you cracking up over there? Is it a comment or what?
I can't see or see any comments or anything like that. But
she's rolling over laughing. I don't know. It must have been a comment somebody left.
What am I doing wrong now?
I don't know. You're doing something that makes her laugh, man. You're
what am I doing, guys? What's going on? Is it like?
Yeah.
Is there like an arrow sticking out of my head? What's going on?
I don't know. Somebody's got little bunny rabbit ears going up there like that. Okay. She's like, I can't believe these guys are like streaming.
Hey, dude, Happy New Year.
Being serious. Okay.
So, I apologize if anything I've been saying has not been getting through, but yeah, I mean, people here are obviously, as you can see, it's a real party, and you know, but in a way, obviously in a way, New Year's, of course, was really just the warm-up act. You know, I mean, everywhere else around the country, you know, it's 12 midnight and Happy New Year, and you know, Auld Lang Syne, and then the confetti, and then you're done. Not here. You know, we got the actual moment of flyby to count down to. We're counting down to that, and then we're counting down to AOS, and then we're counting down to the next picture, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's so much going on here, and it's just really cool. It's like this repeating barrage of celebration of science.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to find my cursor. Let me. Here we go. I want to put this up. There it is. Space TV. Thank you, man. All the best to everyone at Deep Astronomy tomorrow. Launchpad Astronomy and all space fans for 2019 and beyond. Well said.
Well, thank you, Space TV.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah.
Okay, and Peyton Blau on YouTube, 20 minutes left until closest approach.
Yep, that's what it says on our little Gizmotron here.
I sure hope my phone battery hangs in there.
Well, do you need to be roaming now? Can you go sit down, or do you want to be out and about? Oh, I guess you want to be out there, don't you?
Well, I mean, I can go back and sit down in the studio for a bit and just chat with you all. I was hoping to talk to some people. Yeah, you know what? Let me stick.
Yeah, it's probably best if you stay out there. Okay, as long as your battery holds.
If I get a target of opportunity, I want to take it. Yeah, as long as the battery holds. If I cannot cover flyby, well, don't worry, because Tony, you'll cut over to the NASA feed and cover it that way. So that's our contingency, right? If my battery dies, you just cut it over to NASA TV, and we go nuts that way.
No, man, I'm going rogue. This is it'll be my stream.
Oh, great. So while the rest of the universe is celebrating Ultima Flyby,
I'm going to be out streaming the interwebs.
Tony will just be waxing poetically about, you know, the birth of stars. And,
that's right.
You know, not now, man.
No, man. I want to see New Horizons. No, you're listening to me now. Mine.
Oh, my gosh.
What's the box in the upper? Oh, you got that. Okay, go for it. Yeah. Go for it, Lisa.
What's the box in the upper right?
The box in the upper right. Oh, okay. I can't see your screen. You
want to answer it? Oh, I thought you were going to answer it too. Oh, that is that's the instrument view. That's what instrument is on and what it is supposed to see is simulated in that little box. Like just a few moments ago, we saw. There it goes again. There, look. See, there it is. See that peanut-shaped thing?
Oh, wow.
That's it. So there it goes. And Lori is capturing that. Ralph and Alice are on, but Rex and the SD something isn't. And so that's what that little box is in the upper right. And if you look here, you could see... Oh! It's turning around. What's it doing? Oh, is it good?
Toby, yes, I am alone in the studio. That's why I'm trying to keep it together here on my own. That's why I keep cracking up laughing.
Wait a minute. Why is it?
Lisa, you are earning your pay.
Why is it doing? Well, hang on. This ain't right. It's like already happened. This, according to this. Oh, I'm in preview mode. Sorry. Now we're in live mode.
Yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Well, I didn't do that. It did it by itself. There it goes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, okay, so I'm serial. I didn't do it. Okay, so now we're in ride-along mode. Somebody's been pushing buttons here.
Over already. You've had enough. You're trying to fast forward through time.
Yeah, I was like, what is it doing? It's flying by. Whoa, it's just a little bit early. And it's like,
Go home.
I had it in preview. It was on preview mode. This is live. So you saw...
Go home, New Horizons. You're drunk.
You saw a preview there of what to expect. I planned it that way. This is all planned. I can. Well, Christian's video got turned off, but his sound is still there.
Okay, I've got a low battery warning. That's probably why.
We are all at the mercy of our batteries.
Houston, we're going to get you a battery pack for next time.
Yeah, you need to get one of those heavy-duty backup things.
Let me see if I can borrow one.
Here, you can borrow mine. There you go. There you go.
Okay, thanks, bye. Awesome, got it right here. There
you go.
Oh dear, Android.
That'll double your Android. Oh, listen to him talking smack about my stuff. Android. Oh, I'll have you know, my batteries are fine, Christian.
Personal batteries are fine. You're not pushing your thing to the maximum here. I have a question. Is this like a battery charger thing? What? Is this like a battery charger thing? Yeah. Is this being? I mean, is there any chance I could? I'm live streaming. I don't know if I can. It's yours. Oh, it's your personal. Okay, personal. Sorry. Oh no worries, man. I thought it belonged to. APL. Never mind. Okay.
No, if it was APLs, it'd have a little decal on it.
Twitter and YouTube people, go out there, start tweeting hashtag give Christian a battery pack.
Yeah.
Anyone you know at APL, let's make it happen.
Christian needs a charge.
I do need a battery pack. For hey, how you doing?
Again.
Hey, Christian charged again. Oh god. Battery pack. Oh well. All right, let me get back in here. Let me get back into the studio. Well, this is surreal. I'm watching myself approach the screen that I am on. It's Inception.
And it's quiet.
Everyone's saying there's fireworks going off in their neighborhoods. I actually haven't heard any fireworks here. Oh, because it's 9 p.m. Oh man, I need to go to bed.
Oh yeah, you're on the West Coast, so you gotta. It's not. You don't. It's still 2019 there. God, you're so 2019 or 2018.
Lisa, you're so lucky. You get 3 more hours before it's New Year's.
I don't know if I can stay awake for 3 more hours. Darsim. Oh, whoops. Darsim on YouTube says, "Give the man an RTG."
Wait. I want that. Give me. Oh, damn thing was made of plastic. All right,
it's hot.
Get your RTGs. Get them while they're hot.
Happy New Year, Athena. Tuning back in. Yes,
Athena.
We are losing it. We've been going for like 12 hours. We got 12 hours to go. So,
we're fine.
Same.
Yeah. So, what's our plan for overnight? We never really figured out what we're going to do.
Oh, we're live streaming some snoozing, man. We're going to be.
So,
what are we going to play?
That's what we're doing. They're going to be like watching sleeping. Co-hosts live stream their sleep.
I'm not going to sleep in the studio. I need to go home at some point.
Yes, well, you know something. Well, still though, Lisa, this has been so much fun working with you. You're such a professional, and you are really great, and you got a great sense of humor, and I love working with you. This has really been fun.
Yeah, I would really love to do something like this again. This has been great. Everyone watching seems to be enjoying it, so it must be not as terrible as we thought we were going to be. So.
Yeah, so far, all of the, I don't know, have we had technical? Yeah, we have. We've had technical difficulties. What am I saying? Well, the minute I hit the start streaming button on YouTube, I had this echo that it took me out like 5 minutes to get rid of. I'm scrolling through all my tabs. Which one's gone? Which one's on? Which one's on? Turns out it was Facebook. It's always Facebook.
I think we found our feet. We got there.
We did. Yeah.
We're just going to go up from here, First New Horizons, next, what's the next thing next big spacecraft thing that's happening?
Okay.
Mars 2020 landing. We got this. We got 2 years to improve.
Oh yeah.
Well, actually, there's a total solar eclipse in July.
Is it?
I think, or is it June in the South Pacific? What do you guys think? Do you think we should try to live stream, like get on a boat, or convince a cruise line to put us on their boat so that we can live stream their eclipse? And
you just need a buoy for.
Well, after this, we're going to be on everybody's list. I mean, they're going to be like, get these guys, book them.
I think so. I mean, honestly, I sound like I'm joking. I'm really not joking. Remember, on my video, I said I got some ideas for 2019, but for now, let's celebrate Ultima Thule. Well, that's one of my ideas. I wonder what it would take to get one of us, or preferably all of us, on one of those Eclipse cruise ships or a flight or whatever. Get out there with like a live view mobile and stream the solar eclipse live. Or, failing that, getting down to like, I think Sarah Tololo, Inter-American Observatory, are doing a thing, and just showing up there and broadcasting from there.
That's better than being on a cruise ship, because I don't think the live view thing is going to need wireless or 4G access, and I don't think the middle of the ocean has it. So
right.
Wait a minute. Do cruise ships have? They have their own internet, right? How does that work?
Yeah, they have satellite. It's not that fast usually.
Is it 501 baud?
Yeah, really. It's got to be better than New Horizons. That's
a
for
recurring
sure.
joke.
But no, I mean that's the kind of thing I want to. I've been meaning to talk to you guys about, and since everyone's watching, I think now would be a good time to talk about it. No, I think it'd be kind of fun to see if we can't do more events like this. I would really like to, maybe talk with you all about like doing like AAS meetings. Tony, you've done that before, and I know AAS, that's going to be a bit more of a niche thing, but any type of adventure that we could take our community on with. I think that's worth doing. It's exploration. It's what we're all here to do.
Yeah. The big problem with AAS is you definitely need your own bandwidth, because they won't give it to you, and but we could do it. We could get our own modems and be ready to stream from anywhere.
I mean, bandwidth today has been great, and I've been really, really impressed by that. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, you're using the stream's coming off my ISP. Thank God it's been up all day and no glitches.
And APL told me they were going to have great bandwidth, and I got to hand it to them. They've done a phenomenal job. I'm really happy with the throughput I'm getting. I realize when I'm with the phone out there, it's a little bit hinky, but here it's been steady. I've not had a single hiccup off of this part.
So, Lisa, I have a question. In the chat, who is turning things blue? Is that you?
That's usually me. Yeah, I turn it blue just to remind myself that it's interesting, and then if we end up talking about something similar, then I'll turn it red.
Man, I love this chat client. It's so great.
Yeah, this is a nice chat setup. So, speaking of chats, forgive me if you've already done this. Jacob Rodriguez asks, so when will the first images be available? There's a little bit of uncertainty right now, but it sounds to me, and guys, tell me if I'm right on this. It sounds like, the first signal comes in, just the I survive, the phone home signal comes in approximately around 9:30, 10 a.m. tomorrow. And then I think they said something about maybe getting like the very first really low res image or quick look image might be coming in around 6 p.m., anywhere from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I'm not sure why that's such a huge range.
We're not going to stream until 6 p.m., if that's what you're going to ask. We're not going to stream until 6 p.m.
Oh, no. Are we going to stream until 6 p.m.? No. But that's okay, because they won't even release it until the day after. So there's going to be a press conference on, it's Tuesday morning, right? Okay. So there'll be a press conference tomorrow on Wednesday. where they'll release the first image, and then I think there's going to be another press event on Thursday where they release the second image. So part of the delay in all this isn't just how long it takes to download the image. Obviously, that's an extremely long time. But they also want the science team to look at it first, and they want to make sure that they understand what it is, so that when they're presenting it to the public, they kind of have an idea of what it is that they're talking about. And all of this with the proviso that this is an initial low resolution image, just to give us an idea as to what this thing really looks like. So I don't know. Maybe I'll come back, if not live streaming, at least come back and film some of it and get some footage and maybe make a video of it afterward.
Cool.
Yeah, that'll work.
We are 6 minutes out, guys. 6 minutes out. I don't know. Is NASA TV showing anything cool at the moment?
Let me look. Well, yeah, they're buffering. Isn't that cool? Let's see. I'm glad I'm not the government. I'm glad I'm not.
They only had fun for 2018 and not 2019.
Yeah. My Firefox is critically out of date. How can that possibly be? I just updated, like yesterday. How can it be critically out of date? Anyway, sorry. It's my browser is complaining at me, but it is. Oh, they are streaming something. Hold on. All right. You want me to switch to those guys, Christian?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll cut to the live.
All right. I'm cutting your sound and my sound.
Tell us what the spacecraft is doing right now.
Well, right now we're making our highest resolution we're doing two things simultaneously. We're doing a wide-angle scan with our wide-angle camera that is going to be covering a large swath of space around Ultima. Most of that scan is going to have nothing in it because we're not sure exactly where Ultima is. So it might be over here, it might be over here. And so we're going to just sweep our camera across that whole distance, so we'll catch it wherever it is. At the same time, we're using our telephoto camera to take just bang, 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 900 images in a row along the middle of that strip that will be hopefully centered on Ultima. We're really hoping that we're going to get the pointing right on those, but we're not quite sure if it will work or not. So that's our added bonus if we get those highest resolution images. And so hopefully they're happening right now.
I mean, I think that shows the confidence, one, the idea that you really just don't know completely yet, where this is. It's a much smaller object we had to explore before, but the plan, you seem pretty confident, though, that you guys put a good plan together, and now you're just watching it ride through.
Yes, we're optimistic now about how well this is going to go, and now it's just a matter of time to see the data coming down and see what we got. But right now we're taking those most beautiful images that we're going to get, and so it's just going to be amazing waiting to see those.
About how close is it going to come to Ultima Thule?
Closest approach just about now is about 2,000 miles, 3,500 kilometers, much closer than we came to Pluto. Because this is a small world, we want to get as close as we could to it to get the best possible pictures.
Right, and if I look at the countdown clock now, I mean, we're about 3 minutes away, and I'm looking at the distance, and I'm seeing about 2,700 miles. I don't think New Horizons has been closer to anything since launch.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing. It's like half an hour after we left Earth orbit was the last time we were this close to anything.
To be at this point.
And so this is really... it's very hard to believe, actually, that this is really happening right now out there 4 billion miles away.
That it's that close. We ask almost everything about this, too, but what do you think? What are you most excited to see?
I think I'm most excited to see the pictures that are being taken right now, because they're going to be the sharpest, show the most detail, have the best lighting to really show us what the Ultima is like, and we're really excited to see those pictures.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll let you go out to the floor and join your colleagues for the countdown. We're about 2 minutes away. In fact, we'll go out to the floor as well. So let's take it back out to Countdown Central.
the kids. Hey, everybody. We have an American spacecraft 4 billion miles from home approaching Ultima Thule. The spacecraft is currently 2 minutes from its closest approach. It's moving at 9 miles per second. Think about that. In the next 2 minutes, it's going to travel the distance of the entire East Coast from Miami to Maine. If you were on board New Horizons right now, Ultima Thule would be about as big in the sky as a full moon over the Earth. Wow. But only dimly lit because it's so far from the sun that the spacecraft is bathed in a light that's only the equivalent of a dusky twilight, about the equivalent of 100 full moons. At this very moment, while we're speaking and celebrating this event, New Horizons is taking its riskiest observation. It's trying to get the very highest resolution images as it's zipping by at 32,000 miles per hour. Okay, we're under a minute now, so we're going to start the countdown. 50 seconds to fly by. You guys ready? Are you psyched? Are you jazzed? 45 seconds to fly by. 40 seconds. Join me. 35 seconds. 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds. 25. Shh. 20. We're almost there. 15. 14. 13. 12. 11. 10. 9. 8. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go New Horizons! Go New Horizons! Woo-hoo! 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 New Horizons is on departure. Go USA! Go NASA! Go New Horizons! All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, and thank you. They're going to do an interview now up here, a TV interview. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for joining in this. Yeah. You like that? You like that? Awesome.
Okay. All right, so there was the countdown moment. We are a minute past Ultima Thule. This is space history. No object has been explored up close this far from Earth. I mean, wasn't it enough to think that over 3 years away from Pluto, I mean, it took 9 years after launch to get to Pluto and 3 billion miles. Now another 3 years, billion miles beyond that, we're now past Ultima Thule, outbound from the farthest object yet to be explored. What happens next is the data will start to come back. We'll see tomorrow, 20 months for data from Ultima to ultimately reach Earth, and for the entire package, for the science team to begin looking over just this treasure trove of information, of data, in what is literally an archaeological dig into the beginnings of the solar system. These are objects that have been literally untouched, believed to be unaffected.
All right, the audio's up. Audio's up. Audio's up. Sorry.
Hey, all right.
What we're looking to do is go back
up.
to Mission
Okay.
Central, the
So
countdown
you just
central,
heard
the
it.
excitement there.
Okay, you just heard it. We
Joanna
have
Wendell,
commemorated the moment where
investigator
the
Alan
spacecraft
Stern. So let's go back out
should
to
have flown past Ultima Thule, making its closest approach at 3,500 kilometers. That is 3 times closer than it got to Pluto. Now, we don't know if it in fact survived, although there's really no reason to believe it shouldn't have. It's the program on board the spacecraft is still executing. It's still taking images, still taking data, and then in a couple of hours, it will radio that data back to Earth, and we will receive it here on the ground at about 10 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow morning. I just wanted to say how exciting this is. It's a huge event. This is actually like the bigger part of the night. This is actually better than the New Year's part. And my sister asked me to say Gabriel right now. So Gabriel, G.
And he froze.
Uh-oh. He's lost his audio.
So, how freaking cool is that, guys?
That was amazing. That was really great. I was so busy getting everything set up, I forgot to get up and cheer. But yeah, that was amazing. That was really cool. I did it.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, so I was busy getting the shot set it up, but it's amazing. This is great. This is the closest, the most distant flyby humanity has ever done. This is the furthest out we've gone and explored something else. And we were just a few thousand kilometers above the surface of this thing, and we're going to learn more about the outer solar system. So this was a great achievement by any stretch of the imagination. I would be curious to know after it's all over how close everybody got it. Was it what people expected and all of that kind of stuff? But this was an amazing achievement. Well done, guys.
Yeah, congratulations to the New Horizons team. Congratulations to all the people we talked to and so many others that we didn't get a chance to talk to who worked so hard to bring this moment to us. And now, again, we got to let the spacecraft do its thing. But just amazing. I mean, we were here. Yeah, it's a new frontier. We were here for history, guys. I mean, just think about that. It's history, and we're here for it. We did it. We streamed it. We showed it to you. We got you to come along with us and take you on this amazing ride through this incredible universe of ours. Even if it's just our local part of the universe, it's still an amazing universe that we live in. And I just don't know what to say. I mean, I'm super jazzed. I know I'm saying the same thing we've been saying over and over and over again, but it means more than I think people will even realize at first. And I think when we start seeing those first images coming in from this distant world, that's really going to open up people's eyes.
Right, and with this simulation here, we can see that the spacecraft is now past MU-69 because there it is, right there, and it's between the spacecraft now and Earth. So it has passed it and is on its way into interstellar space. So New Horizons, way to go!
Way to go, New Horizons! Way to go, team! Well, as you can see, a number of people are leaving behind me. They're going to be shutting down the center soon. I'll hang out here just for a little bit longer, but I'll probably head back into the studio in a second.
Okay, all right. And Lisa, are you also? Let me switch shots.
Really long lines.
How you doing? Happy New Year!
All right. Well, we did it.
We made it. How many hours have we been going now?
A little over 12 hours.
Yeah, 12 hours, 40 minutes. So
we're now halfway through our coverage of New Horizons.
What are we going to do for the next? Because I mean, I'll probably go to bed, but I'll be back in the morning. So
yeah. I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Tony, are you going to stay awake, or are you just going to roll some B-roll in NASA TV?
I don't know. Chris and I are going to talk about that, I think, and see what we're going to do. So, if I can keep the stream going, and it depends on viewership. If people hang around, we'll do stuff. If people start dropping off, then I might put on something in the background. We'll have to see.
Yeah. We can always put a Chiron up. Hey, everybody watching, we're producing the show as we're talking to you, right? But maybe I don't know. But maybe Tony, maybe you can put if we decide to go to bed, take a nap, which is probably not a bad idea, all fairness. But anyway, if we decide to do something like that, Tony, is there a way for you to run like a Chiron that says, this is the NASA TV feed. We will be back on camera starting around 9:30.
Yeah, I can easily do that. I just don't know if NASA TV is going to have anything worth. Oh, they do what they always do. They went back to the International Space Station. So yeah, we could just roll that, I suppose. I mean, I don't know. I'll stick around for as long as we got people watching, and then when I start seeing things go south, then I might. I'm not
jumping out either. I just wanted to just kind of come up with some ideas. The only other thing I could do is, if there's a way to play back some of the events from earlier this evening, again with the Chiron, we will return on, we'll be back on camera
No, I don't have any way of. I don't have any kind of processing ability right now. It's all being used for streaming.
You could just replay the streams we already have if you scrub backwards. If you open it in a browser window, you can replay from the start.
But I've got to stop the stream I'm going to play the stream I want to replay.
Nah, let's not stop the stream.
Yeah.
Don't stop the stream.
How do you bring NASA TV in?
Oh, that's a different browser and a different stream. But if you want to replay our stream, oh, I see, from your website. Oh, I see, from your channel. I could do that, sure. I just can't replay my own stream. But then we got kind of a feedback loop going, don't we? We're going from your channel, TMRO channel, back through to our feed again. I don't know. My head's starting to hurt. we're gonna be folding our universe in on itself with a
Yeah. That because tomorrow I split the stream, right? I split the first 12 hours out, and I can give you the URL for when we started 12 hours ago. It's a different video, so it's like an instant.
Oh,
replay.
you can give me a URL, and I can play that URL. Yeah, we can do that. Mm-hmm.
And that way people can just rewatch anything that they missed. Would that work?
Yes, that would work. I can do it.
All right. Cool. Let me get the URL.
I am so proud. I was over. I'm watching the numbers on my stream. It got over to almost 450 viewers. That was really cool.
Wow. Have you added up all the viewers on all of our streams?
I was just looking at mine because I have access to my control panel. I don't have access to yours.
Oh, I see. You mean over the course 450 unique viewers. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it peaked right around the song, and it's going down now. Bye. Come back. Don't leave me. Here. La, 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 la. No, I guess I'm losing their attention. Sheila Andrews, you can sing and dance for it. You can sing and dance for all. No, that you do not want to see.
Dance, monkey, dance.
Thomas Terrence, I don't want to rewatch what I missed. I want to drag our host through the night into being a zombie tomorrow. Thanks, man. No, I'm glad you're there for me. That's really cool. No, I know you're there.
We can handle it, but I'm just so jet lagged. I'm a weakling, and I'm piking out.
Okay, could you send me the URL?
I'm sending it.
Okay.
You're not weakling. You see a jet lag.
Oh, I just lost my ears. Oh no! Stand by. I need a new battery.
Give that gal an RTP.
Thomas, and you're new here because I don't recall seeing your name. I welcome you, but you're gonna be rough on me, aren't you? I like people watching on the floor. Jonathan Arkley, science paper tried to prove Oumuamua couldn't be a spacecraft and failed. It's a way out. It's still a way out possibility. Yeah, we talked about that earlier on with Space Mike and others. Who was the guy we were talking to at the time? It's all a blur now. But yeah, we talked about that earlier, that it might be a distant possibility. I've been here all of 12 hours. Hey, you're a rock star. Thanks, Thomas, for hanging in there. Darth Structure. That's an interesting handle. Darth Structure. Sorry, I'm reading all my comments that are streaming by. Let's see, what time is it? Okay, so in the UK, it's getting to be about 5 in the morning. It's almost 6.
My batteries are dying.
7 in the morning in Germany. Keep going further East, it gets earlier and earlier. So let's see. How about India? Any India people out there? San Bernardino. That's not India.
Let me know if you get the link or not.
Ryan Korniloff, been here since 30 minutes after you started. Good, because then you missed my echo. Fiasco. How did you send it? My email, Lisa? Huh? All right, let me go look. Let me go look.
So theoretically, yeah, like once you guys get tired, like you can just be like, "Here's what you missed if you weren't here from the whole time." And that way new people
it sounds like that's what we're gonna do, just because we don't have any idea.
Hi, Happy New Year.
And people that already get the chance to sleep.
Okay, I have it. Thank you, Lisa. So, okay, why don't you go to get some rest? Aren't you going to celebrate New Year's in California now?
Well, I'll go home. By the time I get home, it's probably going to be close to midnight.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. I'm gonna.
If you have any problems, just text me or call me. But I don't think there's going to be any issues. The stream's been pretty solid, so.
Yeah. I'm just going to leave things going, and we'll just keep this baby alive. And will you be returning sometime in the morning, or will this be the last we see of your kind face?
My plan is to come back in the morning. I made a bit of a mess getting the studio set up anyway, so I should be back probably around. Well, you guys are going till noon again, right? So I'll probably join in about 3 hours before that.
Let me see. I'll have to look at the schedule, see when we're going to be back, because I'll have to put up a little banner to be up while we're gone. Yeah, we have a guest starting at 9:15 according to our schedule, so we'll probably be back no later than 9 a.m.
Okay. Well, my plan is to come back, but if I don't make it, if I accidentally sleep in, I'm sorry, but thank you everybody for tuning in. It's been great. I really appreciate it. You guys make this fun.
Hi, Happy New Year.
I wish I could mute.
Happy New Year souvenir to you. Oh, have fun. All right. Yay.
Oh, great. All right, I am going to sign off.
All right,
thank
Lisa. You have a good night. Happy New Year, and thank you for everything.
Happy New Year.
You're awesome.
Yes, Lisa. Thank you tomorrow.
All right.
Bye.
Okay. Christian, what are you doing?
I am walking around. I am saying, I've got a guest I'd like to introduce you to.
All right. Hang on.
All right. Can you cut over to me, or
I've cut onto you.
So I'm here with an old friend of mine named Carl Wittenberg, or Wittenberg. Wittenberg's good. Yeah. Carl, you were instrumental in the success of the Pluto flyby mission and in this mission. Can you tell us a little bit about what your role in New Horizons is?
Yeah, I'm the Chief Mission Operations Analyst for New Horizons, and currently the Deputy Mission Operations Manager. And New Horizons is a team. You heard a lot about that tonight. So,
absolutely.
Yes, while I helped out, I was just one member of the team.
Very, very humble. So my battery's dying. I'll probably just have to pick this up again with you tomorrow. Am I still there with you, Tony?
Yes, but you're cut out. But you're there now.
Okay. So Carl was just saying that, yeah, it's a team, and he's emphasizing it's a team. But seriously though, congratulations, man.
Thank you very much. It's really been a great journey. We're just looking forward to tomorrow morning when we get our signal that says that we made it through the flyby okay, and that our recorders are full of data. So I just want to make sure that we have the data that we expected, and then I'll be happy.
What time will that signal be in, do you think?
It should be around 10:30. Not exactly, but around that.
Okay, why the uncertainty, Carl?
Because I'm trying to remember.
Oh, okay. I thought it was because it's like, some uncertainty in the data. Or
well, there was always some uncertainty because we weren't sure what kind of time shift we were going to put up. It turned out we only put up a 2-second time shift.
I see.
But it should be around 10:30, plus or minus a few minutes.
Okay, great. Well, Carl, I'm not going to hold you up. Besides, my battery's dying as well. I don't know your battery's dying.
But Happy New Year, my friend, and congratulations.
Happy New Year.
I'll give you a hug. Great job, man.
All right.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
Carl Wittenberg, everybody.
Yeah, that was great. Okay. So it looks like people milling out and about, getting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still. I mean, obviously, people are really thinning out. I mean, people are getting out of here. But yeah, it's still a pretty good sized crowd. However, my cell phone is about to die. So what I would need to let you do, Tony, is just go ahead and continue things. I'll head back to the studio, and I'll rejoin you there.
Okay, I'll be here.
All right, thanks.
Well, I met some really cool people. Today, this has been a really good experience for me. People I've admired for a long time, people I've watched, people I've never actually met or talked to, but I have watched their work, and it's been a really good day for me as far as just that aspect, the community, meeting people, seeing Fraser again after so long, and meeting Sean Carroll for the first time, Isaac Arthur for the first time, just all of the people that have stopped by and shown, Astro Athena, just some really great, high-quality people came by to share this with us, and it meant a lot to me. It was very humbling. It's a very humbling experience, and I was glad for it. And I want to thank you guys for joining along as well, and sharing it with me. Some of you have started when noon, 12 hours ago, and you're still with me. So thank you. And Bill, I'm sorry, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. It's good to see you. Yeah, I knew it was either Bill or Bob, and I didn't want to mess it up. So, so Bill, good. I'm glad I got it right. What do you think? What's your impression of today?
It's a great celebration, and it's people kind of culminating a 2.5-year journey. So on the people on the project are had a lot of work behind them and have a lot of work in front of them, but this is a chance for all the rest of us to come in and show basically how much we love the work they do, and how much we appreciate the people who work on New Horizons.
Yeah, and it was a big day in terms of OSIRIS-REx as well. So a lot of things converge. It's almost like NASA plans it this way to do all this stuff to kind of happen all at the same time. I wished there had been a slightly more international flavor to this. It felt very USA centric, and I guess, I don't know, maybe there's no one else to really include in it, but it felt very United States centric, the whole, but I guess it is it is an American achievement, but I think everything NASA does is international in nature now, and I didn't hear a lot about any international collaborators that were involved in this. So
yeah, they're around. I think we didn't manage to round up very many of them.
Yeah.
For which I'm sorry, but
no.
Planetary science is inherently international.
Yeah, it is.
There was talk today of the Hayabusa 2 mission. For instance, somebody asked Brian May about this, and he went on for a while getting a sample out of an asteroid like Ryugu is an exciting development, and all people interested in small bodies research are interested in that. The reason for that is not just Brian May likes it because he's a stereophotography guy, and he loves the 3D photos he's been able to make out of the surface of Ryugu. But to my mind, the real value is, well, if you've ever been to talks by people who analyze meteorites or moon rocks, they can do just completely amazing stuff with micrograms of material. And if they got their hands on a sample from an actual asteroid or any other body in space, they would be able to work miracles in telling you the isotope ratios and the state of minerals things are made of, and how they evolved, because you could tell the thermal history of minerals from the mix of the composition of a rock, and I don't really understand that stuff, but I know that they can work wonders if they get their hands on any meteorite material, and they could certainly work wonders if they could see if once there are more samples of asteroids directly in the laboratory. And we won't even talk about Mars sample return missions, but I leave that to your imagination.
Now, those are on the books, right? I mean, that's what Mars is. Mars 2020 is a rover, but isn't there a return mission after that?
There's not one that's been funded, but Mars 2020 is going to collect samples and cache them in the hope that a future mission will come by and pick up the surface samples that it collected.
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't think it was going to be able to do the return sample for that one.
They're still in talks. It's still in the planning stage. There's these things that have a long road before they actually fly. But I think we have really good hope for a Mars sample return in the 2020s. Probably a combination of NASA effort and European Space Agency effort, and maybe others.
Yep. Well, is Christian coming back, do you think, or what do you think
he's back in the room?
Oh, he's back.
Hello.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
Okay. So, hi. I'm
you want your chair?
Yeah. May I have a seat?
You're in his chair, man.
I can. We'll do a split screen. Hey. All right. Well.
Hey. There you go. Well,
hey.
Christian, how you feeling?
Tired, but I feel well. I feel good. I'm really proud of what we've accomplished thus far.
Christian, I just want to say
tomorrow morning.
What?
We have a couple more guests lined up for tomorrow morning.
Yes, I saw that. I can't wait for that. I gotta say, Christian, kudos, man. Hat tip to you. You did a great job putting this together and getting the guests that you got. The people you got, it was an astonishingly great lineup that we had today, and I was having a great time. And so thank you for lining it all up. This is all Christian's doing, folks. He started this, he planned it, he got the scheduling done, and he's out there putting his iPhone out in people's faces. And it was
to entertain you.
That's
personally.
right. And I was very gratified by the people that I got to meet for the first time, people I've long admired, and just really appreciate the work and the science communication that they do. I had Emily Lakdawalla in Hangouts before, but she's always great, and
she's wonderful. And I got to meet her as well.
I can never see her enough. Yeah,
and I was really I know they're not exclusively astronomy, but I thought the Socratica people that we had, awesome. Kimberly and Ileana, I thought their enthusiasm, their joy of learning, their curiosity. I mean, that really is what it's all about. And I was really glad to kind of have them, because they kind of came up from a slightly different angle, and it's such an important one. So, I think students later can get so much from them.
With them, I was getting into hangout mode because I wanted to ask them all kinds of questions about education, what methods work, what have they found that worked better, what is your feeling on how best to reach people in learning, and do lecturing work, does it work, all kinds of questions. I didn't get a chance to ask them, but that was I learned about them for the first time today. So that was,
thank you, Michael.
Yeah, that was a really good get. And of course, you were doing great with Alan Stern and all the people that you got. The Brian May interview. Let me just say, okay, that could have been better.
Oh yeah, I regret not having. No, I really do. I feel bad about that. I feel terrible. That's gonna hurt.
Well, there's a silver lining on that, right?
No, I was talking about when he walked by in all the security, not the press conference. That's what I was talking about. No, I wasn't busting on you for that. You couldn't help that. That was
so. What happened was, all right. So I was I just happened to be standing on the side, the far side of everything, and the security man's like, "Everybody, get over here. Brian May's gonna be coming. We're bringing Brian May, And okay, fine. So we're sitting there, and I could at least I couldn't get a good audio on him earlier, so at least I could do is get an interview with him now, right? And I was like, here comes Brian May, and here we are for our interview.
Yeah,
there we go.
That's what I was talking about. I wasn't busting on you for the press conference. There was no, I mean, other than be really obnoxious, you couldn't have done better with that. So that was.
Oh no! I mean, those security guys would have.
Right.
if I had like gone to the stage with my microphone, or the security would have grabbed me if I had said, "Hey, Brian," while I was walking by security. I mean, I came this close to getting my head smashed in by security at least on two occasions tonight.
That would have been a golden live stream moment.
That would have been amazing coverage. That would have been
body slam Christian. Were they that serious looking though? Were they that scary?
Scary, no, but I mean, they're professional. I mean, they're security. They're decked out. They're ready to do their job if they had to. And of course, everyone was well behaved. There was never really an issue. But what are you going to do? It's Brian May.
Yeah.
No,
go ahead.
Can we say another thing about his press conference, which I found was totally fascinating. He's a very, very interesting guy.
Yeah, if you could have heard that press conference, you would have been really impressed.
But Chris.
Yes.
You gave me the laptop with the webcam.
Yes.
And the crummy microphone.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But you had a high def camera.
I did
have a good microphone.
Hopefully, yeah. So so let me try to I have a second camera. It's a decent high quality camera, and I have a microphone attached to it. Unfortunately, there was no way that I could use it to stream. I had to go with the laptop webcam, and so maybe I will do my very best to see if I can salvage some of that and at least get parts of that press conference composed as an interview that I can then upload. So there may be a chance that I can bring you that, or at least some of that press conference.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Wait a minute. What does because reason say? Keep talking, Chris. Okay, what did I do? What did I say? I don't know. Upcycle Electronics. Have a good night, sir.
Yep. And you guys, by the way, this chat has been really amazing. There were times when it was really smoking, and a lot of people were here. Just following along with us, and that was a lot of fun to see you guys there. This is why I do it. I do it because of that. I like the immediacy of live streaming. I hate editing. So I much prefer just doing it live with mistakes and all, and getting the information out that way. It's a lot more my style. So. Yeah, so we had a lot of people watching. I don't know how the numbers were on all the channels. I think they might be the same. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I looked around. I thought, of the three, not that there's any competition, but of the three channels, TMRO, Deep Astronomy, and myself, I had probably the lowest viewership, but then again, I have the lowest subscriber. But you know what, though? I busted through... I can't believe this. I busted through 2,500 subscribers.
That's great.
I couldn't believe it. I thought,
congratulations.
Well, thanks. I mean, I thought, wow, maybe could I get 1,000 subscribers in just 1 year? I mean, and then it was 2,000, and now it's like 25 and climbing. Thank you all so much for joining me at Launchpad Astronomy, and I think we're going to just continue to grow and do more things, and I just want to bring you all along with us.
Yeah, and it'll keep growing. It builds on itself after a while, Christian. The viewership that you get, the more things you produce, the more subscribers you get. The thing that has changed since I started doing this was of course the algorithm, right? YouTube wants you to play a certain game. I chose not to do that. It just doesn't fit with my lifestyle. I can't be making videos every single day and posting something. Especially, I feel pretty strongly about only posting things if I've got something good to say. So I want my content to be as good as it can. So I post whenever I feel like it's ready to go, and YouTube doesn't like that. So, but you're on your way. I mean, you are growing, and you're doing the right. We're doing the right things. You're collaborating with lots of people. You're getting your name out there. You're doing things like this. This was all you, and this was a really great job. And I'm really impressed at how smoothly it all went. So that was amazing. I have tried streaming from a AAS meeting. All I had was a video camera and no internet connection, and oh my gosh, what a nightmare it was. And I had to use the internet connection that was there in the convention center, and it was just awful. And once I was even on NASA TV trying to give a stream of the JWST town hall meeting that they were having at the meeting, and NASA TV was supposed to pick up my feed. And they gave me a video camera, but they didn't give me a microphone. So I had to, and I'm at the back of the auditorium. And so I had, how that is. You're in an auditorium. You've got the video camera mic, and you're trying to pick up a speech. It was not good, and NASA couldn't even they couldn't take the feed. But I told them, I said I had bandwidth. I was the only one who had bandwidth because I had rented, for this purpose especially, one of those LiveView LU70 professional rigs that's designed to stream from remote locations. So I had bandwidth. What I didn't have was a camera and a microphone. It's all parts of the puzzle. But one crucial piece of today's puzzle was this man right here, Bill Higgins. Again, thank you so much. Bill was just going to be here, and he just emailed me or you DM'd me, I think, right? And or you tweeted me and said, "Hey, are you going to be at New Horizons?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to be at New Horizons." Well, I'm going to be at New Horizons too. Oh, cool. And I, learned that this was his third rodeo. But Bill's the kind of guy that just jumps in with all 4 feet. And you even said it earlier today, rather, that you prefer it when you have a job to do.
Yes.
And so Bill just volunteered to just get after it, and he's out of here.
Yeah, we close up soon.
Okay, so the man's kicking us out, but we understand, sir. We're gonna wind it up here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Right in the middle of Chris thanking you.
Right in the middle of me. So anyway, I gotta say, but thank you, Bill. Thank you very much.
You're
Appreciate all.
Quite welcome.
Happy New Year.
It's a thrilling experience.
Well, good job, Bill. Thank you for all you've done. That was It really made this work.
Henry, thank you, Henry. Come over here, Henry. Henry, say hi, will you?
What is it?
There's Henry again.
You're still on. You're still on.
Hi. Not only is he part of the mission, but he's also a photographer, and just all the flash, all the lightning going off. That was all Henry.
Awesome.
And he just gave us some cool swag.
They're going to see our picture in Mumbai, right?
Yeah. Sounds like there's people watching everywhere. So
we have people from around the world. So thank you.
We had a lot of people watching. Way to go! Hey, congratulations too.
Yeah. Well, tune back in tomorrow morning. So that's the.
We'll be back.
We will be here. We'll be here around. What time do you guys? We'll find out. I'll find out. Maybe 9ish. Okay, we'll be back at 9. So as you hear, good night, Henry. Happy New Year. So Todd Johnson. Oh gosh, hey Todd. Todd Johnson made an astute observation, or lack thereof. I've known Bill for decades and never noticed that he had 4 feet. Yeah, but Todd, you know what? You think you know somebody.
I think I saw Mary Lynn up the scroll too. So
well, hi Mary Lynn. Hi Mary Lynn, and hi everybody. I want to give another shout out. I feel like we're doing this almost prematurely because we're technically halfway through. But since this is a really important milestone, I got to give a huge shout out to my beautiful wife, Jerry Smith-Reddy. Honey, I love you so much. thank you so much. She became a moderator. I modded her, and she's been. Yeah, I've been watching her in the chat. You know, she's been dropping the hammer on some people. She's been, you know, beating up on some folks and saying, you know, no, you're rude. You're in timeout. She don't take nothing, you know, and that's my girl. You know, that's why I love her. You know? No, but anyway, hi Jerry. But you know what though, we are going to have to get going here. I think Tony, I have to go check into the hotel and all that kind of stuff. So, what are we doing here? Are you just going to
reconvene? Let's reconvene at 9, and I will start the stream from before, and I'll go take a break too and come back.
Are you going? Can we leave the stream running otherwise, so that we don't have to give people a new address?
Nothing will change. You just go on and go, and I'm going. Lisa sent me the link to the stream that she already recorded, and I will play that as if I'm playing NASA's live feed, and go from there. And people can watch if they missed it that are were asleep. Maybe
it's a chance for people to catch a bit of a replay, and then just a note that we will be back live at approximately 9:30, something like that.
Right. Yep. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good, Christian.
Okay.
I'll see you in the morning.
All right.
Bill,
thank you very much.
See you in the morning. Good night.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Love you all, and I will see you in the morning.
All right. Congrats on a good job. Halfway there. Well, we're halfway there actually, but okay.
Let's do it.
All right. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Tony, do you want me to leave the meeting, or what do you want
just
to do?
Go ahead and leave the meeting.
Okay. Good night.
Yep. Good night. All right. Well, that is it. It's just me now. So as you can see, New Horizons is currently transmitting the data it just took, some of it anyway, back. This is the data that we're going to get in the morning. Let's see. It's 1:13 now, Eastern time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7:30 or 8. It'll get back. So it's transmitting now. And I like this little app. This is really cool. It's made this whole stream way more interesting than it otherwise would have been. So that's that. There's still about 200 people watching. That's great. It's 8 p.m. Eastern. Thomas Terrence. The landing for will probably be around midnight on 2nd of January. Are you going to have a live stream for that as well? That would be terrific. I don't think so. I think my wife might kill me if I do this again. I had to ask permission to do this stream, and she's not happy that I wasn't. That I'm still going. So, that is going to be an interesting landing for sure. How many hours till 9 p.m., Tony? About 7 hours, 45 minutes. So, okay. So there you go. Marathon, man. I know I am still here. I've been at this, and I really, you know what? I haven't really eaten much today either. So all I've had one of these. This is my favorite flavor, by the way. They did not pay me to say this, but I like the tropical flavor. That's the best. I like that. 9. Oh, I see what you're saying, James Dugan. Yeah, how many hours till? Yeah, we're going to be starting at 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. Not 9 p.m. Sorry. If I said p.m., I meant a.m. So I'll be, just a few hours from now, 9 a.m. Eastern time, and you can do the calculations from there because I'm too tired to do them. Okay, so let me grab this link that Lisa sent me, and I go copy link location, and then I go into my browser. You guys are like, listening to me think to myself, and I go to Control V. There it is. And there we are. Oh man, she's got it. Oh, she's got it monetized. Okay, let me skip the video. I did not monetize my stream. Wait, there's only 2 hours of this.
That there are two major concepts.
Alrighty. Okay, I'm going to start doing some things behind the scenes. I'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thank you guys all so much for hanging in there, and talk to you tomorrow. And as always, keep looking up.
Learjet only could fly for 3 hours, so we have a lot more observations coming out of Sophia than we did those two facilities.
Yeah, and you'll notice that here the telescope is behind the wing, whereas in the other two models it was in front of the wing.
That's true.
It makes it much easier for the pilots to access the restrooms in flight, so that's a good thing. There's a lot more space to move around.
Okay, great.
So normally, if you're on a 747 passenger jet, it can house almost 300 people or so, and so there's a marked increase in size from the C-141 that was the Kuiper. And the telescope is in the rear, as I mentioned, and that hole, just to give you a sense of perspective, is about the size of a normal garage door, right? So that's how large a hole in the cavity.
And you said that's a hole.
That's a hole. It's open to the atmosphere.
You can just open that
open to the atmosphere. It's not a window. And so if you look carefully at the fuselage, you might be able to make this out. There's a little rise leading up to the opening, and that rise was very carefully engineered and tested here at Ames, in our wind tunnels here at Ames, to take the air and direct it over the cavity and to have it redirect to the backside so that there's no turbulence in the cavity, or at least very little turbulence in the cavity.
No drag.
So it's very smooth airflow across that. The pilots assure us they can't tell if it's open or closed. It's almost seamless.
Oh, wow. And I think we have a video of this door opening, this garage door in the back of the 747.
I want to see that, yeah.
So here's Sophia in all of its glory in flight, sunset trip. Yeah, and here's one of our test flights where we were opening the door for the first time. So you can see the door slowly opening in the back there, and eventually it'll open to about 10 feet in size because it's a 9-foot diameter telescope.
And if you think that it looks like it's a little bit stubby for a 747, you're correct. It is. It's actually a 747 SP, so it's a special performance 747.
Okay.
They only made about 40 of those, but it's just a smaller, shorter version.
But we're on board. We're on board during these. It's not like they're being the telescope and the instruments are being remote worked. Right. We are on board the plane at the time. We are moving the people on board are moving the telescope. The people on board are using the instruments and collecting the data.
Oh,
it's a pretty active work environment.
Yeah. What is that like? Are you moving around? Are you fixed at your computer screens? What is it like on board?
Well, we have different stations where different people do their work. There's a station for the telescope operators who point the telescope to where we need it to go. There's a station for the instrument operators. These are the people who are looking at the data coming out of the cameras at the back end of the telescopes. There used to be eyepieces at the back of telescopes. Now everything's digital cameras or instruments that collect light and analyze light. And then you have mission directors who are talking between the scientists on the flight deck and the pilots up in the cockpit to organize how things in the flight are going to go. And of course, you have the pilots up top because they're on the second level on a 747.
And of course, there's still a lot of space on board, and so there's plenty of room for investigators who are actually the people we're conducting the observations for, the people who have proposed the research. They can come on board and see their data as it's coming in.
Other astronomers?
Other astronomers from all over the world can come join.
So our crew, including visitors, are typically somewhere around 20.
Okay.
And the Kuiper could have maybe 7 people on board, and the Learjet could only have 4 people on board besides the pilots.
I think we have a video on board Sophia showing a little bit about the environment and what it's like.
Yeah, there's our second home.
Yeah, that's right.
So what you're seeing here is that's the back of the mission director's computers that I was talking about, the mission director's stadium. That's the science station there. That's where the people who are looking at the
Is that where you and Andrew sit?
That's where we would be. We were watching and analyzing the data come in on the astronomical instruments.
And if you're paying attention, people were facing the telescope, and so your back is to the direction that you're flying, right? You're facing
you're sitting
backwards.
You're sitting opposite of what you would in a commercial airliner.
Okay. Okay. And is that so everyone's facing the telescope?
We can watch and monitor what the telescope is doing.
That's right. Cool. I have an important question from Venom Plays 777. Are there in-flight meals?
There are not in-flight meals. There's no catering except what you bring on board yourself. We do have a galley which has microwave ovens. We have a coffee maker. We have refrigerators.
Now, for years we didn't, and there was a lot of celebration when we finally got a coffee maker.
And the microwave. That's great.
All right, BYO snacks.
Yes. That's right. Bring your own snacks. 10 hours, so you need a lot of food.
That's right. That is true.
Oh my gosh, you get exactly what you want then.
Lunch is at midnight, so you have to pace things.
Okay, that's strange.
Because you're flying all night.
All night long, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
But I mean, we could actually observe infrared in the daytime as well, but we use optical cameras to find where we are in the sky, and so that's why we have to observe at night.
Makes sense.
I'm getting a lot of questions. How about we move on to
Yes.
our first segment, rapid fire questions. You
Rapid
ready?
fire, all right.
Ready.
All right, you asked for it, so here we go again. Rapid fire questions is where we cover as many questions from the chat as we can. So let's go. Quick questions, quick answers, and we'll hit as many as we can. There was a good question. Well, first of all, what's the observing cadence for Sophia from Core Accretion?
So we typically observe 3 to 4 nights a week, and then that will occur on over a span of 2 to 3 weeks. And then we'll do an instrument swap, put a new instrument on, and do the same thing again. And that happens pretty much year-round.
Cool. Okay. Space TV Net is asking, is the Sophia telescope design more similar to a space telescope or a ground telescope?
Yeah, it's much more like a space-based telescope. We actually point and maintain our pointing through gyros, so just the way a space observatory works. And so, yeah, when you're in flight, there's turbulence, the telescope looks like it's bouncing around. It's not actually bouncing around, it's actually stabilized, inertially stabilized with respect to the stars, so that means it's not moving. Everything you're seeing is us bouncing around the telescope. So it's much more like a space-based telescope.
If you're not careful, it can give you a sense of seasickness just trying to watch it, because it moves around a lot.
Yeah. I think we're going to see some of that later. That's pretty cool. Why use a plane? Are there advantages as opposed to common satellites? Could you review that a little bit for 8-Bit Pepper?
Right. So I mentioned easy access, which is a really big one. You know, if you launch a satellite and something goes wrong, either you're out of luck and it's just a lost mission, or it's a very expensive process to go about fixing it. Right? It takes a dedicated mission to fix it. Here we don't have that problem. Since we come home every night, we can address any issues that might arise. So that's one of the big advantages of being on board a plane as opposed to a satellite.
The other one is we can upgrade the technology. When you plan for a satellite mission, by the time you actually launch the mission, it's a couple decade-old technology.
Right.
Since we come home every night, we can put the latest technology on board and try things out, and maybe even be a pathfinder for technologies that are used on future satellites.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a number of upgrades just over the last few years.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Bag of Spaghetti is commenting, that is pretty cool. And Fergus Digmus says, this is an incredible piece of engineering. It is, and just you wait. There's more to come. Why a bay door instead of a window from Resonator Games?
Yeah, so there's two reasons. One, since we're looking in the infrared, we are looking at heat, as we were talking about. We want the telescope as cool as possible. So at the higher altitudes that we're flying, we can get, minus 30 degrees Celsius, so it gets very, very cold. And we want our telescope to be cold because that gives us less background emission from the telescope. So that's one reason why we kind of want to open. It's sort of passively cooled by the atmosphere. But the other reason is there's very few materials that we can make a large window of this size out of that allows us to look at all of the wavelengths of infrared light that we're interested in looking at. Like I said, my glasses earlier are made out of material that block infrared light at the wavelength that camera. So our cameras look at a very broad range of wavelengths, and there just isn't material available in this size that would be
a garage door size sheet of diamond.
Of diamond. That would work.
Wait,
that sounds heavy.
You don't have that?
And difficult to make.
All right. So many good ones. Are cosmic ray strikes an issue for Sophia data? Core accretion.
For much of our data, it's really not. And even for our optical cameras, where it is more of a problem, if you're taking a lot of images sequentially, then it's easy to remove cosmic ray hits. Okay. So most of the time, it's not an issue. Even for our optical cameras, we can deal with that if we need to.
Yeah, our detectors aren't as sensitive to cosmic ray hits, and because we co-add data, we take very short exposures and co-add them, it gets averaged out. Any cosmic rays get averaged out.
Okay. What's the distance that Sophia can see in terms of light years, basically, from David Espel?
Well, that's a tough one because it depends on how bright something is. So we did recently observe a quasar or something like that. That was at
it was a lens galaxy.
Lens galaxy that was at a very high Z. Z is 6 or something like that, maybe even more.
What's that
I don't even remember. So what that means is it's very close to the dawn of the universe. So, in terms of light years, again, it's all dependent on how bright the object is.
Okay, so it's more about brightness.
In that case,
more about brightness.
We were able to do it just because there was something in front of it that acted as a magnifying glass.
As a lens.
Okay.
And so that's why we were able to observe that.
Okay.
Interesting.
Maybe this is related. Solar Captain's asking, is SOFIA going to be able to see further away than the observatory telescopes? I think ground-based observatories, I suppose.
Yeah, again, it all has to do with the brightness of the targets that you're looking at. Yeah, so we can see things very far away as long as they're bright.
And mostly that's a function of the size of the telescope. So the bigger you go, the easier it is to see faint objects, which may be farther away.
Yeah, and most of the wavelengths that SOFIA works at, we are now the largest observatory that there is. So there is the most light collecting power that we can get out of any facility is with our large telescopes.
Right, and there really is very little way to upgrade the size on an aircraft, right? Because the fuselage of a 747 is about as big as it gets. You can go a little bit larger, but it's not going to actually increase the size of your telescope very much.
We can't get a bigger telescope on board.
Yeah. You just can't squeeze in anything else.
All these upgrades from the early airborne observatories to now, the bigger plane was to get the bigger telescope.
That's right.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe one more, because I've got a bunch of questions that are going to come up in the next section.
Yes.
So we're going to hold on to those. Let me see. Is the data recorded during these missions available to citizen astronomers from Fourth and
That's a good question. So, yeah, we do archive all of the data that we have. Most of our data is from people who have proposed to use our facility and have gone through a selection process. They have a proprietary year to look at it and do what they want with the data. But then after that, the data is public. You can go to our data website and download it. You just have to register your email, and that's it. So anybody could use it.
We do also have a number of what we call director's time programs, and those are data that we observe and then make it immediately available to the world. So anybody can look at that data right now. In fact, just a few days after it's been observed.
Oh, cool.
Cool. These are great questions.
Yeah, and there are lots more.
We'll get to those later.
Yep.
So this is a reminder that you're watching NASA in Silicon Valley Live, and today we're talking about SOFIA and airborne astronomy. Have questions? Put it in the chat, and we will get to them when we can, but we love your questions.
Yep. We're saying goodbye to
Jim and Andrew. Thank you for joining us. And now we will shortly have with us our guests, Kim and Ken, Kimberly Eniko and Ken Bowers. Welcome. Thank you both for joining us. Let you get settled here.
Yep.
Yes. So
all tucked in.
Yes.
All good.
Welcome, Kim and Ken.
The tongue twister.
Okay. Yes. You could tell us a little bit about what you do here. Introduce yourselves.
My name is Ken Bauer, and I'm an engineer here at NASA Ames. And my job is easy to explain, but hard to do. Okay. I plan missions for SOFIA, the Airborne Observatory.
Very good.
And I'm Kimberly Eniko Smith. I'm a research astrophysicist here at NASA Ames. And as an astrophysicist, I'm studying the phenomena of the universe. And I also do a lot of design and evaluate missions to study the universe.
Okay. So a lot of people are using SOFIA to do a lot of different science. Can you give us a little taste of what kinds of things you observe and study?
Absolutely. As Jim and Andrew were talking you through this the world's largest flying observatory, we have astronomers from all over the world applying for time to study the infrared universe. And a lot of their science is all about our origins. You know, how did we get here? Science about what are the conditions under which stars can form, the stellar nurseries. How do planets form? How do atoms, ions, molecules in the universe get into planetary systems? And we study a variety of objects from nearby, like comets and asteroids and planets in our own solar system, to star formation regions all over our own galaxy, the Milky Way. There are a variety of shapes and sizes.
It's amazing how many astronomers want to study dust.
Dust.
Dust. It's a very big thing.
Dust is where, a large fraction of the light in the universe is irradiation with dust. Yeah. We also study other galaxies outside of our own Milky Way, even some of these lens galaxies that Andrew had talked about.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about all these cool things that SOFIA is looking at, but how you talked about planning these missions.
Yep.
So that goes into how we do that. Can you explain about that for us?
Sure. It starts more than a year before we fly a mission, and that's when we ask people, what do you want to look at? So scientists all over the world propose observations that they want to make. And then we take all of those, and there's about 5 times as many proposed observations as we could possibly observe. We put those in front of a panel of esteemed scientists, and they rank them for merit. And the list comes to me, and I only get the top 5th, and the names are taken off. And my job is to try to schedule all of those observations. Okay. It's a complicated jigsaw puzzle because the Earth goes around the sun, and you see different stars at different nights, and the Earth is spinning as well, so the stars are rising and setting. And if you look at the airplane, you'll notice that the telescope is always on the left side of the airplane. So that means that if I want to look at a star in the north, I'm going to fly the plane to the east. If I want to eventually come home, which we'd like to do, so we can fly the next night, I need to find a star in the south to observe at the right time of the night. So it's a big jigsaw puzzle, and the pieces change every time you put one down.
Wow.
Because the Earth rotates and all the stars are now in a different location. We'll be tuning our flight plans from 10 weeks before we start flying, a particular clump of them.
Okay.
And we'll even be adjusting it the day of.
Wow.
Because most airplanes do care about wind, but not that much, because you just want to get someplace in an airplane.
Right.
So where the plane is going is fine. If there's a crosswind, you just lean into it a little bit, and you'll get there a moment later, and it doesn't really matter. We can't do that. We have to point the plane so that the telescope is always looking in the right direction, and if the wind needs to blow us, it's gonna blow us. So part of the job of a flight planner is to adapt to the wind and make a flight plan that will work, given all of those conditions.
And sometimes we bring the plane down to the southern hemisphere. Astronomers want to look at the southern targets in the southern hemisphere as well.
I see.
So the plane moves to a different airport and does flight operations out of there, and still doing the flight plan, still the same geometries. You know.
So you mentioned changing from hemispheres, but if you're flying from the same base night after night, it's the same flight plan every night?
So it is never the same flight plan.
Okay.
Even if we wanted it to be, it's never the same flight plan because the winds change a little bit. And even if you just say, I'll fly last night's flight plan over tonight, well, the Earth has gone a little ways around the sun. And so
things have shifted about 15 minutes.
It's constantly changing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
So,
okay, so we're talking a lot about the plane moving all the time, all these factors affecting it. I mean, the wind is blowing it, the stars are moving. I've been on a plane. I know there are times when I can't even stand up because the plane is shaking so much. And there are a bunch of questions here from Resonator Games, Grupfeld, Core Accretion, Gamez76. Everybody wants to know, how do you stabilize the telescope? So let's go to our next segment, Explain It Like I'm 5. All right, so grab your sippy cups, folks. Explain It Like I'm 5 is when we ask our NASA guests to explain a complex scientific concept and make it understandable for us kindergartners. So take it away, Ken. Explain how you keep the telescope stable, and focused on a target.
It's one of our most common questions. If you've ever tried to look at Saturn with binoculars, you know that the thing bounces all over the place, and it's you that's moving. You don't have to move much for something that's that far away to be very difficult to see. So you want your telescope to be very stable. And that's great when you're talking about a building on a mountaintop, but it's not so great when you're talking about an aircraft. You've been in aircrafts. Most of you have been in them. You know that they move. And aircrafts tend to rock and roll a little bit as they steer around, and they tend to go through vibration. There's an engine hum all
Kimberly's doing
the
the
time.
vibrations for us.
Yeah, what toy model there?
This is a model of the telescope at larger scale. That's back
right
there.
here. Yeah.
And it is mounted inside what's called a spherical bearing. It's like a ball and socket joint, like your shoulder is.
Yeah.
So there's one sphere and type of another, and that allows it to rotate freely in 3 different axes, a little bit this way, and a lot this way. While the telescope is flying, it will be making changes because as the Earth rotates, the stars appear to rise and set, and so the telescope will be tracking along. And if it gets out of range, the plane just moves a little bit.
We actually use the plane to do some of the steering in this direction of the telescope. To point the telescope.
And when the plane goes through some turbulence, the telescope can adapt to it. And we can often watch this. When I've been on the flight, I can watch this telescope bouncing up and down, in fact.
It moves that much?
Yes.
You see it bouncing around?
Yeah, it moves quite a lot. It'll go up and down a couple of feet.
So how does that affect the image quality?
The astounding thing is that it does not affect the image quality. I can be watching this thing go up and down, and this is moving up and down a foot or two at a time. Quite within a second or two, it can go that far. And yet I look out the image that the camera's looking at, and it's a completely still image. It could have been a photograph, a still shot.
Wow. I think we have a time-lapse video showing what it's like on a flight.
That's awesome. Let's see.
So this is sped up, I think, 50 times. And as much as it looks jittery, seeing it moving around all over the place, this is actually a pretty stable flight as they go. I don't see really big motions. When you see it make a big rotation, like that is changing its target. And the little motions you're seeing are all the corrections for what the plane is doing. In addition to these corrections, to sort of cancel out the hum, the whole thing is sitting on a giant air cushion. So it's sitting inside a ring of inner tubes, and there are other fancier devices that help cancel out those high-frequency hums.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the science instrument is shown in the center there with the bags of white, which are when the cryogens on board are changing to vapor. And so that is just taking the spectra of the target, and you have there's an electronics rack over to the right, and the telescope structure is that blue structure. It's moving quite rapidly in the sped up version.
All right.
And when you're on board, I mean, you can feel the plane moving, and you're seeing on the screen, and the image is rock steady. You just know the telescope is compensated. Some amazing German engineering. The partner on our Sophia project is the German Aerospace Center, and they delivered us one awesome telescope.
Okay,
yes.
sweet.
Yeah.
So,
the short answer to your question is we have really good tools.
So Sambone100 wants to know, does the telescope have adaptive optics?
So does it have adaptive optics? A bit. There are some devices on the back, and the secondary can do some motion. It's kind of a technical answer, so I won't get into too deep questions.
And we're not using classical adaptive optics like ground-based telescopes where they use a sodium guide star or anything like that. We don't do any of that, that activity.
Most of our adaptive is about canceling vibration.
That's right.
And His Majesty wants to know, does it adjust by itself or some software?
Well, I don't think it's ever going to take care of itself. There are gyroscopes, and there's software in the loop, so the gyroscopes remember what way up is and keep track of make all the corrections for us. But it's all software in the loop, yes.
Okay. And we also have the visual centroiding with the images on the star itself. We have 3 guide cameras of large field of view, medium field, and fine field of view, and you're constantly tracking multiple stars. So you can take out rotations and stay on point.
The gyroscopes can try to keep you pointed in the same direction, but you don't want to be pointed in the same direction. You want to follow the star as the star moves.
Right, everything's always moving. I have a message for Troopernix. We're live. Have a question for our guests. Write it in the chat. So I want to get that out there. Gosh, there are so many questions.
Kiro would like to know, what does it mean that you typically fly north-south?
So typically, if you've looked at some of our flight paths?
I think they heard you say if you want to look south, you have to fly a different direction.
So the airplane flies towards its nose, but the telescope only looks out the left side of the aircraft. So if I am flying north, then the telescope will be looking to the west. So I'm looking at some target, some star that is setting in the west. And if I'm flying south, then the telescope is looking to the east. So I'm looking at something that's rising in the east. And those have to be balanced out. We need to end up flying the exact same amount of time north as south, as east, as west.
So Ken's often trying to find targets that the astronomers want, but those that are rising and those that are setting.
Yes, okay.
It turns out that in the south is a lot more things that astronomers want to look at in the north. So I spend a lot of time trying to balance.
It's where the action of the
south
universe
versus
is.
north. Yes, it is where the action is.
Nathan Maya, I think, is asking if Sophia ever looks back at the Earth in infrared. You'd have to fly at an angle facing the camera to the Earth, so we realize that would be
very simple
complex,
answer, no.
Sorry to look up.
We can only actually look not even at the horizon, only 20 degrees above the horizon, up to 60 degrees above the horizon. And if we were to bank the telescope like that, I think all the passengers would be very uncomfortable.
Yeah, you'd have to change the plane.
Well, we have so many great questions live, but we are
later.
going to run out of time if we don't move
Okay.
on to talk a little bit about some of the objects that Sophia studies.
And that's what people want to know about as well.
Yes. So, Kimberly, I've flown on a few flights with you. Okay. Get these models out of the way.
Yeah.
Yes. And on a couple of the flights I've been on with you, I've been looking at black holes. So, can you tell us a little bit about Sophia's black hole observations?
Black holes, yeah, one of many different type of targets that Sophia. So, black hole is an object whose gravity is so strong that not even light can escape, and there's actually quite a few black holes in our Milky Way, but they're hard to find.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're hard to find the signatures. In fact, they're 1 out of every 1,000 stars may eventually go through a black hole phase in our Milky Way.
Okay.
You can sort of get a sense of it's very massive. Just imagine our sun, but 10 times the mass of our sun concentrated in an area like New York City is what a stellar size black hole would be.
Wow.
There's even bigger ones out there. They're called supermassive black holes, and these are the ones that have millions or billions of solar masses. And the center of our Milky Way has a supermassive black hole.
It's our galaxy.
That's Milky Way is our galaxy, and the galactic
a lot
center.
of astronomers want to look at that.
Really? It's like I've planned so many flights.
And
at
it's
this
in the
point.
south.
And also there are lots of galaxies outside the Milky Way that the astronomers call them the term active galaxies. And it's because if you were to add up all the light from the stars, they're brighter than what the stars themselves would give off. And they're also emitting at all different wavelengths: X-ray, gamma rays, radio, infrared, visible.
These are types of light
all the
other
different types of
telescopes use?
wavelengths. And a lot of telescopes are looking at this. And then with these active galaxies, Sophia's been looking at a few of them. And
like which ones?
We recently looked at Cygnus A, which is 600. It's one of the brightest radio galaxies. It was discovered originally in the radio. It's about 600 million light years away, and it is understood to have a supermassive black hole that's about 2 billion solar masses.
Oh, 2 billion suns.
2 billion suns. So if our
Supermassive.
galaxy has 4 million, this one's got about 2 billion. Super massive.
And it's eating very actively now.
Yeah, because what the
is.
understanding is, why is it so bright? It's because all the material may be falling into the black hole and emitting at all these different wavelengths. So there's a model to explain what a black hole, an active galaxy with a supermassive black hole, looks like. And it has this dusty ring, which is the material for which is feeding that central part of the black hole.
We have an illustration of what
Yeah.
Cygnus A black hole might look
Cygnus
like.
A, here's an artist representation of Cygnus A, and what's striking about it is it's got these dusty ring, you sort of see as this grayish material, and these jets that are emitting from the center, perpendicular, right angles to the ring. And if your clever eye is looking at it, you can see sort of it looks like tinsel, since we're in the Christmas season. Tinsel surrounding the ring.
Oh, all around that dusty.
Yeah. And that is a representation of magnetic fields. So Sophia made observations of the orientation of magnetic fields around Cygnus A.
Oh, wow.
And one hypothesis is it confining the dust and therefore providing unlimited food supply for this supermassive black hole?
Awesome.
Also, the magnetic fields could be some way to channel the energy, like warping space and time and turning it into a coil, and then being the source of those relativistic jets coming out.
Like
so Sophia's going to be studying a lot more of these galaxies with and without jets to see whether what's the strength of their magnetic field.
Looking for magnetic fields.
That's exciting.
Very cool. So black holes are one of my favorite things, but I know you want to talk about some of your favorite things. Can you tell us about some other things that Sophia studies? What might be one of your particular favorites?
What's your favorite?
I'll tell you about one of the big challenges that I have in planning is an event called an occultation. An occultation is the general case of an eclipse. So if you've seen a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, it's only called an eclipse if the Earth, the Sun, and the Moon line up together. If it's three other objects, like a star and a planet and your eye, that's called an occultation. So it's a general case. And if you participated in last year's Eclipse Across America, hopefully somebody, got to see the complete eclipse. I did not, because it did not happen here in California. It went all the way across the country and missed us. And sometimes you have to be where the action is. And the shadow of the moon is just a small spot compared to the Earth, so we didn't get to see it here. By most observations that I make, it's just a question of saying, is the star up? Can I point at it? But in the case of an occultation, I have to be at exactly the right spot on the Earth to observe it as well.
Like in the path of totality.
Yep, in the path of totality.
And the size of the totality, the size of the shadow is equivalent to the size of the object you're looking at. So a bigger object will cast a bigger shadow, and a smaller object will have a smaller shadow.
So we look. The biggest object we've looked at is Pluto. And,
hashtag not a
not
planet.
A planet yes.
I think we have an animation
I was
to
gonna
sort of
say,
show what an occultation might look like.
So we're flying along. You can see the planet, and it's just now moving in front of a bright star. There it goes. And the shadow is now cast upon the Earth. Sophia is flying through the shadow, and there's a bright flash. So that was the moment where the star and the planet and the shadow on the Earth were all exactly lined up. And we want to try to hit that central flash, it's called. And that can be really tricky to try to hit. Even given the shadow's size of Pluto, about the size of Australia, the central flash goes by really quickly.
So you said it's about the size of Australia. How long do you have to study that? When what we saw in the
about a little
animation?
less than 2 minutes, about 1 minute and a half, 90 seconds.
90 seconds.
90 seconds.
Oh my gosh, better not miss it.
And you have to be within about 50 miles or you'll miss the central flash entirely. And we like to try to be within 5 miles. And we're moving at 500 or 600 miles per hour at the same time.
And the shadow's moving about 50 or 60,000 miles per hour.
Oh my gosh.
So we're definitely not shadow chasers. We are
shadow interceptors.
Yes.
Okay. You need to be there when it gets there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
What do you learn when you study objects like this? What did you learn about Pluto?
Well, you can learn about its size, because when you cross the shadow, you get the size of the object. You can also learn about its atmosphere, depending upon how the light curve changed, this dimming in the light. And you can also learn about the environment. Uranus, its rings were discovered by the Kuiper Airborne Observatory through an occultation measurement, because it was an unexpected result. And again, they found rings around a body. So occultations say about its size, information about the atmosphere, and whether there's rings or other satellites around the object.
Amazingly, Pluto, for being so far and cold, has also got a dynamic atmosphere. It's changing over time.
And that has been confirmed by many occultations over the several decades since this discovery.
Lophia found that out first.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, cool.
So you talked about searching for rings and for areas around this. What other objects have you looked at, search for rings for with Sophia?
So, summer of 2017, we studied a Kuiper Belt object called 2014 MU69.
And for the audience reference, I think we have an illustration of what the Kuiper Belt is.
Yeah,
so Kuiper Belt is this region in the solar system out beyond the orbit of Neptune.
Yeah. Do we have that image of the Kuiper Belt, Dave?
So it's not to be confused with the asteroid belt, right?
Yeah. So this is a region in the solar system beyond the orbit of Neptune, and Pluto is a frequent visitor of after its 250-year orbit, the king of the Kuiper Belt.
It's the most famous one, yes.
And a billion miles beyond Pluto is MU69, or 2014 MU69, a very small rocky body.
Okay.
And what was Sophia looking for?
So an occultation opportunity presented itself, and this is an object discovered by Hubble, but we didn't know anything about its size. So we wanted to catch the occultation. It's a small object. It's anticipated like Pluto was going to be like a 90-second event. This one was going to be less than 2 seconds.
Less than 2 seconds.
Less than 2 seconds.
It could even be 1 second.
You can do something with that time?
Yes.
That's crazy.
So the shadow of Pluto crossing the Earth was like the size of Australia, or the size of western U.S. from, say, the Mississippi to the Pacific. The size of this 20, 50-mile type object would be the size of Dallas, the city of Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
So tiny shadow. And we're still at these same speeds. We're traveling this fast, and the shadow's still traveling that super fast.
So it's going by 50,000 miles an hour. Don't blink.
Yes.
No.
It goes by very quickly.
So we had a very fast camera on board, just like the same frame rate you get at a movie theater, 20 frames per second.
Okay.
For something that take 1 or 2 seconds, it would take several measurements, like 10 or 15 images.
Okay. Get as many as you could in that second and a half.
And the event happened, and we actually caught a bit of it, of the occultation, in 2 of our frames.
Wonderful.
And we were also interested in the environment around it. Do these objects have rings or other satellites? Because when you get that small, the calculations predict that you're in these swarms of different types of lots of bodies.
So there could have been debris
a lot of debris,
around it.
yeah.
Okay.
Can you tell us a bit about why we were searching for debris? What other mission was interested in that?
That was NASA New Horizons mission. NASA New Horizons flew by Pluto.
We have an animation of New Horizons going past Pluto. Dave, can you roll that?
There you go.
There it is.
Grand piano-size nuclear-powered spacecraft flying by Pluto, and there's an artist representation of Pluto. The flyby was in July of 2015, and in the distance there is Pluto's moon Saturn. And so it was Sharon, and there is a flyby of Pluto there, and the spacecraft is continuing to exit the solar system, is taking lots of pictures of Pluto and Sharon, and when it wasn't slowing down, and so
moving really fast,
and it's on an escape trajectory, and its next target is 2014 MU69.
Okay.
So our
Sophia
occultation with measurement with Sophia was to look for the environment to help inform the flight planners, because this is a year and a half out from their flyby. Flyby is in January 1st of 2019.
It's coming up.
This New Year's
weeks.
Day.
Yeah. So we helped the flight planner teams for New Horizons, get an early glimpse of the environment around their next target.
All right.
We determined it's pretty clean,
And
so
it's
they can get close.
Yeah.
If
Up
it had
close
been
and
very
personal.
dusty and chunky, they'd have had to stay far away.
Well, that'll be exciting to watch New Horizons fly by. So if you want to ring in the new year with NASA New Horizons and learn all about this piano-sized spacecraft, visit nasa.gov/New Horizons.
Yeah, and as a quick reminder for everybody watching, this is NASA in Silicon Valley Live, and today we're talking about the world's largest airborne observatory, SOFIA. We're going to have time for another round of questions, so leave your questions in the chat, and we'll try to get as many as we can. You guys up for a few more questions?
Oh, yeah. Bring 'em on.
All right. Cassandra, do you want to switch back and forth? So we can hit a bunch?
I see Sneaky Rhino 1 wants to know, how long does SOFIA stay in the air, and does it refuel?
How long does it stay in the air? Typically, it's a 10-hour mission. So from wheels up to wheels down is about 10 hours. And that's a pretty long flight. If I were flying it as a passenger, I'd be uncomfortable. But I get to get up and walk around. It does get cold and it does get loud on board. Without all sorts of passengers and seats all over the place, the rumble of the plane is pretty loud. So we actually wear hearing protection most of the time that we're there. Does it refuel? So in-flight refueling? No, it does not. We land the plane and refuel it.
But astronomers would love that because there's always more targets to look at.
But our crew does want to go home with their family.
Longer flights might be nice, but the reality is we only observe at night. And so even if we were to try to do a 20-hour flight, we don't have 20 hours at night.
Late breaking news is that at certain wavelengths, we can be observing at longer wavelengths.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But we need to refuel.
Yeah.
Does the plane have to fly without lights to not interfere with the telescope, I suppose? And does this cause issues with flight laws? Nailfile1 asks.
So that's not an issue.
Okay.
We turn off the lights that are shining on the telescope itself. But other than that, we turn them off. So the logo light, that's the light on the plane that shines on the plane itself. We turn those off as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
But the blinking lights, the red and the green,
they're on.
They're on the whole time
because you're following all FAA rules, and they're emitting in the visible. And you remember, our telescope looks in the infrared.
Exactly.
And
right.
and it doesn't interfere at all with our cameras, our guide cameras that work in the visible.
Cool. Yep. So we do follow all the FAA rules. And that is a big deal for flight planning.
I bet.
Anti-Particle 73 wants to know, are there multiple SOFIA in operation?
Nope. Just one.
And Space VNet would like to know, who was the genius that first had the idea of an airborne observatory?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, there was earlier we learned about the Learjet in the 1960s, but even prior to that, there was a smaller jet that was put up, and they just stuck a camera outside the window and just to see what you can measure, because you knew about this property that the atmosphere was blocking the infrared. And when the first infrared detectors were being made, they took it up and they realized that we are missing a lot of the universe up there.
The answer is the cool people at NASA.
Yeah.
Nice. That sounds like it. They've been doing that for a long time.
Could SOFIA be used to observe a comet and its tail?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And it has.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, several times. We have one coming up.
Yeah. Comet Vertinen?
Vertinen, yes. That's going to make its perihelion around December 16th or so.
And what does that mean?
Yeah. Oh, closest to the sun.
Okay.
So when a comet gets closer to the sun, it gets more active, and you can see a lot more of its activities. And so in the infrared we can study the gas and also the dust and the ice. So we can look at water, we can look at carbon dioxide, we can look at methane, we can look at any of the constituents, and also the temperature. So we do a lot of comet studies.
Okay,
neat. Yeah, whenever a comet comes around, it gets scheduled. We even have open observations. If a comet were to be discovered, it would get bumped up in the queue to be observed.
Okay. Fred Burkhoff is asking, what is space made out of? That seems like a simple question, but that's actually
that's a cosmological question.
We often use the term gas and dust.
Yeah.
So what is gas? Gas is atoms. They are molecules when you have more than one atom. You have ions, which are when you remove an electron or a neutron and you charge it. And then dust is solid particles. And some astronomers like to call dust anything that's heavier than helium. So sometimes carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen, if there's a lot of it, is a solid. We call it dust.
Considered a dust. Okay.
Yeah. Planets are giant aggregates of dust.
Yeah.
Right.
But what is space made out of? And then there's the gap between the gas and the dust too.
All right, we won't get into dark matter today.
Yeah, there's that topic for another day.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about, in our last minute or so, what Sophia is looking at going forward. You mentioned this comet, maybe what they're looking at this week?
This week, so I can tell you what we're looking at tonight.
Oh, tonight.
So we're taking off in about 2 hours' time.
Cool.
So 6:40 p.m. on Pacific time, 9:40 Eastern, 2:40 in the morning if you're at Greenwich Mean Time. And it'll be flying for 10 hours, and we'll fly out of Southern California, fly up to Manitoba, then across to Vancouver, and back down to Southern California.
All the way up to Canada and back south?
Yep.
Okay.
And then in that time, we will observe 3 different stars at various stages of their life. We're going to look at one that has a newborn inside of a cloud. We're going to look at a toddling, spewing planet and an aging, lost its hair already bald planet. And finally, at a great view of M51, a galaxy that's like the Milky Way, but close enough we can get details, and it's face on.
And you can use your favorite flight tracking program, and our tail sign is the NASA 747.
Oh, cool.
So watch us in 2 hours.
Yeah. Sophia, okay.
Awesome.
Well, thank you both for joining us. We're just about out of time. So thank you for watching and for all your questions in the chat. This has been NASA in Silicon Valley Live, a conversational talk show out of NASA Ames Research Center with the various scientists, engineers, and researchers and all around cool people where we talk about all the nerdy NASA news you need to know about. If you like that, we're simultaneously live on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and NASA TV as well. And if you can't catch us live, don't worry. We will be video on demand after the fact, and you can also catch us on the podcast services on the audio version. So a huge thanks again to our guests.
Yes,
thank you.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
And thanks for the questions online.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Thank you to everybody in the chat who joined us. And we'll be back on Thursday, December 20th for a special holiday unboxing episode. So be sure to join us for that. And until then, thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you're watching NASA TV, on the air and online every day, on this planet and beyond.
Welcome to Watch This Space. I'm NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine, and NASA is going forward to the moon. This time, we're doing it differently than we've ever done it before. Recently, NASA announced 9 commercial partners that will take NASA payloads to the surface of the moon. These are highlights from that recent announcement. Not only are we announcing today a number of very innovative companies that are going to go to the moon for the first time commercially. In other words, we're going to buy the service. We're not going to purchase, own, and operate the hardware. We're going to buy the service. But we're also announcing a change that I think is important for NASA. And that is, this is a response to the science community, who has for a long time decided that we needed to do science on the surface of the moon, and yet NASA for a long time has focused the moon within the Human Exploration and Operations Mission Directorate and not the Science Mission Directorate. But now we're changing that. We believe there is a lot of amazing science that we can do on the surface of the moon. In fact, science that we can't do anywhere other than the surface of the moon. We want multiple providers that are competing on cost and innovation so that we as NASA can do more than we've ever been able to do before and advance the human spirit.
Science and human exploration go together. And we should not be surprised that I'm standing here as a scientist, really excited about exploring this celestial body right next door to us. The moon, like any other body in the solar system, the moon is full of secrets that we don't know yet. For example, if you really want to decide what the age is of the solar system, just like you look at the rings of a tree when you cut it, if you want to learn that, you go to the moon and you analyze the samples that are there.
Today we are at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the Charles Elachi Mission Control Center, where we had the opportunity to participate in the Mars InSight lander. I am here with Emily Manor Chapman, who is an instrument engineer on the Mars InSight lander. And of course today we've had a very exciting day and in fact a very successful day. Her part in this was the development of instruments that have been not just engineered but built and now delivered to the surface of Mars. So congratulations on a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Definitely so exciting today.
That's so great. Tell me, what is the instrument package that you worked on?
I work with what we call the Auxiliary Payload Sensor Suite, which is a collection of environmental or weather sensors.
Oh.
So we have a sensor that can measure air temperature and wind speed, atmospheric pressure, and also a magnetometer that can measure the magnetic field at Mars.
So tell us, are we going to get continuous updates on the weather, on Mars?
We will. Starting this week, we'll do a short checkout with the instrument just to make sure everything is working correctly after landing. If that's successful, then we'll turn on the instrument and it basically stays on almost continuously at that point. So we will get a full sol's worth of weather data every sol.
How long is it going to take before there's a number of instruments here, and of course your package is one of many instruments.
That's right.
There's a seismometer on the Mars InSight lander, and there's something called the mole. Let's talk about the seismometer first. What is that going to help us understand?
So the seismometer will measure quakes on Mars, or Mars quakes as we call them.
Okay.
And by looking at the type of seismic activity on Mars will tell us something about how Mars formed and what it's made of. So scientists can look at the waves and data picked up by that instrument and tell us about how do seismic waves move through the material on Mars, and looking at how they move, what's Mars made of.
And I've been told that it can even pick up maybe even meteorites that actually hit the surface of Mars, even on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, that's correct. We think we'll be able to detect those as well.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, okay, the mole. Tell me about the mole.
So the purpose of the mole is to measure how heat changes and moves around inside of Mars. So the mole is kind of a big nail about the size of my forearm, and it can actually hammer itself underneath the surface of Mars. And so with the mole, we're going to go deeper underneath the surface of Mars than any other mission has before. We'll go down to up to about 15 feet. And trailing behind that mole will be a series of temperature sensors. And so it will be able to take temperature over time and again see how the heat is moving around, how is it changing inside Mars. And again, that tells us something about how Mars formed and what it's made of.
Amazing. Tell me, what do you know about the core of Mars?
Well, first, if you look at our core here on Earth, we know that we have a kind of molten metallic core. And that core is what drives the magnetic field that we have here at Earth. And so, as you said, we don't see that global magnetic field anymore at Mars. So we want to find out, is the core liquid or is it solid? and what is it made of? Because if we see something that's like maybe it's a solid core, so you don't have that dynamo action in the center of the planet like we do here on Earth, so we don't have anything to drive that magnetic field of Earth. And so we're actually going to use radio signals, between the lander on Mars and an antenna here on Earth. Looking at changes in that radio signal will tell us about what the core is made of. Is it solid or is it liquid?
So how long until we start getting some really serious science data from InSight?
It will actually be about 2 to 3 months, because the next thing that we need to do with InSight is, so we're on the surface, but when we landed, all of our science instruments are sitting up on top of the lander, and we really want to get our seismometer onto the ground, because it's going to take much better data if it's actually in contact with the Martian surface.
Okay.
And for our probe, obviously it also needs to be on the ground because we want it to hammer underneath the surface. So the next 2 to 3 months we're going to spend using the robotic arm. And the robotic arm you can think of like one of those carnival games with the claw, and you go and pick stuff up and put it on the ground. And that's basically what a robotic arm is. It has a little claw. You can go pick up the instruments and set them onto the ground. So in the coming couple weeks, we're going to be looking at where did we land, taking lots of images to see what's in front of the lander, picking where do we want to put the seismometer, where do we want to put the mole, and then actually start that process of using the robotic arm to pick up those instruments and get them onto the surface of Mars.
Amazing. Well, Emily, thank you for your great work. What an amazing accomplishment today. We're all so proud of you and your entire team here at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and of course the InSight team. So thank you so much for your great work.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm here with Vivian Sun, who is a systems engineer here at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and she has been involved in picking the landing site for the Mars 2020 rover, which of course is a mission happening in 2020. And we're all very excited about that. So tell us, what goes into selecting a landing site on Mars for the 2020 rover?
Right, so actually this process began several years ago. So it first started in 2013 when an open call was put out to the Mars community, basically saying that anyone who wishes to propose a landing site for this Mars 2020 mission can do so, and the only requirements are that this landing site had to demonstrate that there used to be liquid water at this site, and that this liquid water had a chemistry that could have supported life had it existed on Mars at that time. And so with those requirements, the first landing site workshop was held in 2013, and there were about 30 or so landing site candidates that were put forth by different members of the community. And so at the workshop, we discussed the pros and cons of each site, what each site had to offer, what kind of samples we might collect at every site. And so in this sort of fashion, we've had several more landing site workshops. We just concluded with the fourth and final one this past fall, just about a month ago. And throughout that process, that initial list of 30 landing site candidates was eventually whittled down to the 3 that we had just a month ago, which is, of course, Jezero Crater, Northeast Syrtis, and Columbia Hills.
Okay.
And so at the conclusion of the fourth and final landing site, we discussed again the pros and cons of every location, what a kind of mission might look like to each of those sites, and then we came out with Jezero Crater.
You mentioned that the water was critically important, and
yes.
maybe the type of chemicals that would have been in that water that may have been able to help support life, and that's what went into the selection process. So what we're actually going to do is cache samples on the surface of Mars with the Mars 2020 rover. What do we get when we cache samples? Why do we do that?
So the reason why we really want to cache samples with Mars 2020, and the reason why this is such a critical step for Mars sample return and understanding the history of Mars and its potential for ancient life, the reason is because even though our rovers are incredibly sophisticated on the surface of Mars, they're still limited compared to the analyses that we could do here on Earth in our laboratories where we have access to the state-of-the-art technologies. And so to really look at a sample, to look at a rock and be able to tell whether something is the true biosignature or whether it's something that was truly evidence for past life, you really need to do that kind of analysis here on Earth with our sophisticated labs.
Yeah. So the idea is Mars 2020 just caches a sample. Then we have to do a Mars sample return mission, which of course we don't have a date for yet. But in my view, we need to do it as soon as possible to get those samples back to Earth.
Absolutely.
And at the end of it, the goal is to discover whether or not Mars is habitable, or maybe at one time was habitable, or even today, could it have life? Is that the intent here?
Yeah, so for sure we want to understand whether the environments that we're investigating were habitable or not. And from the satellite data or the orbital data that we have pretty good hints that they're probably habitable, that they used to have water and that water had chemistry that could have supported life if it existed there. But what we don't know is if there was life, that's one question. If there was life, do we have evidence that preserves, for example, fossils or other biosignatures? Do we have that evidence that there was past life in any of these samples?
Okay.
And that's something that we can only figure out by returning those samples back.
Okay. Well, Vivian, I want to tell you we're grateful for your work. We're looking forward to coming back 26 months from now when we have a successful Mars 2020 landing on the surface of Mars, and we'll revisit this again and talk more in depth about what the next steps are. So thank you so much, and Mars is a wonderful place. We need to learn more.
Yes, we do.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet. We now have an opportunity to meet Mimi Ung, who of course has been highly involved in what's called Mars Helicopter. So when we send Mars 2020 to Mars in 2020, of course, it's not only going to have the rover, it's also going to have attached to the rover a helicopter that Mimi has been involved in developing now for many years, as a matter of fact.
Over 4 years?
Over 4
and a half
years.
years. Yeah.
So tell me, how did this come to your mind as an idea? Was it out there before? Was it your brainchild? How did this come into being?
No, feasibility of helicopters flying at Mars have been proven in the early 90s.
Okay.
In fact, Bob Belleram, who's the chief engineer on our project, he had done research in those days showing that it's feasible, it's possible. There's enough atmosphere to lift, fly a helicopter. The challenge, of course, is it has to be very light.
Yeah.
Similarly, over in Ames, Larry Young has some research that have been proven.
Okay.
But the thing that had not made it possible until recently is the availability of technologies for these lightweight, capable flying vehicles.
Okay.
So around 2012 or so, our previous director, Charles Alachi, was on a lab tour, and he was seeing these drones being used to demonstrate autonomous navigation algorithms. And after the tour, he said, hey, why don't we do this at Mars?
Wow.
And so we connected him back. In fact, I happened to be on the bus in his tour because he was visiting our division, Autonomous Systems Division, and I was the Deputy Division's manager of Autonomous Systems Division at the time. Anyway, so why don't we do this? So we connected him back to Bob Belleram, who had done research in the 90s, and then it started from there.
Okay.
So
Mimi, tell me, why is it important to have a helicopter on Mars?
Today we explore planets from spacecraft in orbit and rovers on the surface, but we're not using the aerial dimension to explore surfaces. So the helicopter would open doors to exploration through aerial dimension.
Yeah.
And that will help with forward reconnaissance far ahead of rovers, or in the future, astronauts, when astronauts are there to explore. And so forward reconnaissance is very important, and it's a new dimension. Secondly, we'll be able to get to places we simply can't get to today, right? And even in the future with rovers or even astronauts. For example, sites of these cliffs, right? Recently, there are these exposed ice scarps that have, we would have to fly there to get a sample and analyze them on landed assets, or bottom of crevices and steep volcanoes.
Yeah.
A new dimension, adding.
So when the Mars 2020 rover lands, the helicopter will be underneath it. Is that correct?
That's right.
And then it will be released. It will unfold, and then it will take off. How long will it be able to fly?
We plan to do incremental series of flights. So the first thing we will want to do is repeat the flights that we have demonstrated in Mars-like atmospheric density in our 25-foot chamber here at JPL, right?
Yeah.
So that would be the first flight we'll want to do exactly what we have modeled and demonstrated on Earth.
Yeah.
And so we will go up and hover and come down. We'll go up to 3 meters or so.
I want to take a moment. When you lift off of Mars and then set down on Mars, what do you think that moment will be like?
I would, if I dare say so, it would be just like a Wright Brother moment, really, because flying in this thin atmosphere is it just hasn't been done before.
Yeah, so
extraordinary.
Tell me about the atmosphere. When you compare it to Earth, how does it compare to Earth?
It's very thin.
Yeah.
So compared to Earth, less than 1% of Earth's atmospheric density.
Okay.
So we have algorithms that show that we can fly, we can control, and we have done experiments on Earth in our chamber, but to definitively demonstrate doing this on Mars is a huge milestone.
It will be. And okay, so as you mentioned, you have your Wright brothers moment where you actually take off the surface of another world and then land again with a helicopter. Okay, then after that, what's the next test that you want to do?
Then we'll start doing incrementally further lateral flights. So we'll ascend and then go laterally, start with modestly with a few tenths of meters, and then come back and land. And then after that, following incrementally further, up to 150 meters or so out and back. Okay. And that would fully confirm all the models, all the assumptions that we've done in, and definitively conclude our analysis.
It's weird to think about because when you're in atmosphere that's that thin, as you mentioned, less than 1% of Earth's atmosphere, it seems like once you start going, it becomes very difficult to stop. So everything has to be so much more precise. The way you start moving requires a certain amount of L over D in order to tilt the helicopter and move it. But then you have to be able to stop it. But the atmosphere is sufficiently thin. Does it scale? Is it comparable to Earth's atmosphere? I mean, it seems like it's far more complicated than
it is
what normal people might think that it is.
Yes, it's very counterintuitive. The thin atmosphere reacts. The blades react differently with the thin atmosphere. For example, there are resonances in all rotorcraft. And on Earth, with very thick atmosphere, a lot of the resonances get dampened out.
Sure.
With thin atmosphere, they continue to ring.
Yeah.
So, for example, our development, our test, demonstration, and the design and the selection of frequencies have to be very carefully aligned and be aware of those. Reaction of the vehicle, while it's a thin atmosphere, the response is actually slower in some sense and faster in others. Yeah. So, for example, you turn the blade, and here on atmosphere, you are pushing so much air, you suddenly turn. Right. There, it takes a little longer. So definitely our team had to model from the very fundamentals of a blade, like taking a blade that's, we're 1.2 meter diameter blades, so a rotor system, so half a 0.6 meter or so per blade. We actually had to cut into 33 virtual pieces and analyze them for the lift and the drag of each of the piece with, with high fidelity CFD analysis. Take the lift and drag, integrated them, and then model how the dynamics of the vehicle would be in this thin atmosphere. These low Reynolds numbers, and this is, low density area.
You're starting from scratch.
Starting from scratch, and it's been a surprise, a nice surprise, and it's made it very fun. But definitely starting from the fundamentals. Right. So that's why when you asked just now about how would you feel, what does it mean that very first flight, to unconditionally confirm our models in the real environment, it'll be fantastic.
A first of its kind. It'll be monumental. We're so looking forward to seeing it happen. And of course, it's going to be part of the Mars 2020 rover. So it's really not that far away. We're almost there.
Right.
And we look forward to coming back here in 26 months. In order to watch a very safe and effective Mars 2020 lander, and thereafter a Mars helicopter take off and land on the surface of another world for the first time in human history. Thank you, Mimi Ung, for all of your great work.
Thank you.
Can't wait
Thank
to
you
see
for
all
your
of your
support.
accomplishments in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for watching Watch This Space. I'm NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine. You can follow me on Twitter @Jim Bridenstine. And of course, if you want to watch this again, you can do so at nasa.gov/watchthisSpace.
It's all about the Earth and what we can learn about it from the International Space Station. Hi, I'm NASA astronaut Tracy Dyson. Welcome to Station Life.
Houston 2 for velocity calibration, assembly, 45 and 46. We'll move out.
Felicia, you have a go right now for that activity.
Thank you.
Okay, Tracy, we copy, and that's good information. We'll pass it along.
Welcome back. This month on Station Life, we're going to highlight the International Space Station as a platform for studying the Earth and take a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to live and work aboard the International Space Station. You know, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. The first pictures taken by humans from space forever changed the way we view ourselves and our world. If you've ever flown on an airplane in the window seat, you know the natural desire to stare out the window. Well, aboard the International Space Station, one of our favorite things to do during our off time is to stare at the beauty of our home planet.
Take a moment every day to look out the window and appreciate where you are. Literally watch the Earth go by. We're going around the Earth once every 90 minutes. So you see a sunrise and a sunset every hour and a half.
It's just so vast and so vibrant in color, and so much contrast between the black that it kind of overwhelms you at first.
Don't just look out the window during the day. Go for the times between day and night, and then night and day, and take some time to look out into the universe at nighttime, because that's when you can really see all the stars. And you can see that the stars are not only like in a planetarium where they're sort of in a 2D field, they're actually 3D, and some are farther than others.
But you could see the blues and the oranges and the reds and the whites and the yellows, and really see more color about the stars, which indicates more about where they are in their life cycle, what kind of things they're burning and doing. And you would think that you'd get tired of looking out the window, but you never do.
Like I said before, a picture's worth 1,000 words. But in the case of International Space Station imagery, a picture could also be worth 1,000 lives. An imaging system aboard the station called Environmental Research and Visualization System, ISERV, captured photographs of Earth from space for use in developing countries affected by natural disasters. This is yet another way the orbiting laboratory is serving humanity off the Earth for the Earth.
SURVEYOR is a joint NASA and USAID program where we're working with developing countries around the world and strengthening their ability to use satellites to address the many problems that they have, including floods, fires, harmful algal blooms, and other types of events that they have where they can use satellites to really make better decisions.
We're using space information to help decisions that affect people in the village where they live.
When there's a major disaster, governments around the world come together and they provide all of the satellite data basically that the world has to offer. But there's smaller disasters that occur in the countries that we work in that may not make the front page of the New York Times, but in that country it's a really big deal. We asked ourselves, could we make a difference if we had a dedicated imager for acquiring imagery quickly after natural disasters, and to be able to provide that imagery back to the countries that need them, that have real decisions that need to be made with a very quick turnaround. As NASA, we looked in our own backyard and started thinking, could we use the International Space Station? The International Space Station was really a fantastic asset to take advantage of because it passes over 90% of the Earth's populated area every 24 hours. We developed an imaging system and we called it ISERV, which basically is a camera and a telescope system that sits inside the International Space Station and can collect imagery when it passes over natural disasters or other events that we need to collect imagery.
Initially, we were planning to take a few pictures per day.
So we contacted all the USAID missions around the world, and in total we had more than 2,000 requests coming, for people who need images from ISERV.
And we moved to 1,000 images per day.
We provided ISERV imagery for many, many natural disasters, including floods and fires, for deforestation, for volcanic eruptions, for earthquakes. So it was really a fantastic example showing how imagery from the International Space Station could be used in these times of dire need.
And now we have a huge archives of images of areas around the world. So this is something that was not really there before.
ISERV is an example of, in essence, making the International Space Station even more international and connecting space to village to better understand and protect our home planet.
Imagine bread loaf-sized satellites zipping around the Earth each day, imaging the globe and providing updates on the environment. Thanks to the International Space Station, this constellation of satellite image gathering has been made a reality. With the mission of photographing the majority of the Earth every day, Planet Labs created small satellites, individually referred to as doves, to capture ground imagery for use in humanitarian, environmental, and commercial applications. With the 2005 NASA Authorization Act designating the U.S. segment of the station as a national laboratory, the space station drives growth of a robust commercial marketplace in space through endeavors like Planet Labs. The Earth imaging mission of Planet Labs' Dove satellites takes another leap toward creating benefits on Earth, resulting from innovation in space.
What happens if you wake up in the morning and you understand the state of the world as it is right now?
What could that data enable? How could people make smarter decisions? How could, for example, a farmer get better yield on his or her crops? How could somebody help disaster response? How can we use satellites to help humanity? That, in many ways, was the underlying thesis of doing Planet Labs, was to get data into the hands of people that could enable us to make smarter responses to that.
Planet Labs set out with the mission to photograph the entire Earth every day. And they thought, how are we going to do this? They said, let's build our own satellite.
Commercial imaging satellites, they're very large. They are very expensive. We took a different approach.
By making them really small, we can launch lots of them, and by launching lots of them, we can cover this, to get to this mission of imaging the whole Earth every day.
If we can do that, then we can literally change the way that we see the world.
And they called it the Dove. It's about the size of a loaf of bread.
Our doves are basically mainly a big camera with a telescope looking down to take pictures of the Earth. We initially developed the first Dove satellite in our garage. So we kept on iterating the Dove design, we made it better and better, and eventually we put our first one into space. We had no idea what the quality would be like.
I mean, we didn't know if it was going to work.
But we got an image down and it was so beautiful that we knew at that point we could make this technology work.
Wow, we can really do this, and we can achieve this mission, which is something that is really needed for us to understand global change.
So we had done a couple of demonstration satellites, but the next steps we wanted to do was to scale it up, to test the first fleets of satellites.
But what made that possible was actually access to space.
So here's the problem, that in order to take pictures of the entire Earth every day, you're going to need more than one or two satellites. You're going to need a whole lot of satellites, and you're going to need to be able to deploy them really fast. And really, there's only one obvious choice on how to deploy that, and that's the International Space Station.
There was no other platform in the world in order to get access to space of that fashion in that time period than the International Space Station.
NanoRacks is our key partner with NASA.
At NanoRacks, we understood Planet Labs' vision, and we knew that we could help. We worked together to figure out what was going to be the best way to get as many satellites as possible, and we basically developed a new platform. It goes out of the gym airlock. It's picked up by a robotic arm, pointed out into space, and it fires these little satellites off of the space station.
They were able to secure 28 of our satellites to be launched from the International Space Station, and that was known as Flock 1, our first constellation.
This opened up the whole world to satellite developers, people that could put things into orbit fast.
We now deploy these on a regular basis from the International Space Station. And now today, we're able to operate the largest fleet of Earth imaging satellites in human history.
And none of that would have been possible without the International Space Station.
The International Space Station does enable young, small companies like ourselves to get going in space.
The ISS provides a lot of opportunities for commercial companies to test and find where the market in space is going to be.
And so what we're seeing today is a proliferation of new ideas and new concepts. It's almost like it's a renaissance of what's happening in space. Buckle up and strap down, because this is going to be a rocket for all of us in the global community to be part of.
I used to think when I was growing up in Florida, lots of thunderstorms in Florida, you know, that here's this storm over top of me and it's just this individual little thing that just is about a storm over Florida. And in fact, now after looking at the Earth from space, I see that that little storm in Florida is connected to Africa and Europe and all across the planet. And one of the most impressive things to see is how the Earth presents itself as alive when you're watching these storms at night just trickle across the whole surface of the planet like its own nervous system. And the emotions of the Earth, you know, seeing storms that are developing and the way you know from having that experience on Earth how it's probably impacting the people and the places down there. It's like, oh, is it upset and mad today versus the sunshine over some other part of the planet? And really, really, really gets you looking at it in a different way, an appreciative and respectful way. When you're crossing the deserts in Africa and the way the dunes form, and they almost look like little, birds have run across the sand. And then this contrast you'll get from kind of the pinks and oranges and whites to these dark grays and almost deep blues and of rocks and everything that are intersecting with it. And the Bahamas and the northern coast of Venezuela, which quite honestly is, I think, the most beautiful place on our planet. It is just incredible.
Well, so far we've learned about using the ISS as a platform for iServe, which captures imagery of the Earth to provide disaster assistance, and deploying small satellites called doves. We expect good things to come from both of these experiments and look forward to their robust potential. NASA has selected proposals for 2 new future instruments, Getty and EcoStress. These sensors on the ISS will give scientists new ways to observe how forests and ecosystems are affected by climate change. Our next piece is about a recently completed mission of an Earth-observing instrument on the ISS called HYCO. Its name stands for Hyperspectral Imager for the Coastal Ocean. Check it out.
Carroll Township's a very rural area in northern Ohio, right on Lake Erie. Lake Erie has always been very important to Carroll Township and its residents. We use it for drinking water, we treat it, and it's really our livelihood.
In Lake Erie, for what unknown reason, suddenly the toxin level spiked, and that got through the treatment system.
It was indicated to me that it is pretty dangerous.
Cyanotoxins can cause skin rashes,
headaches,
nausea,
vomiting, stomach problems,
nervous system problems,
liver damage,
to death.
We sampled and we had about 2.5 times the limit from the World Health Organization. The second sample was approximately 3.5 times. Our plant wasn't set up to handle what was coming in from Lake Erie. One of my biggest worries was actually hurting someone or even worse. So we shut it off right away, shut everything off. We had a very close call that day. The last thing you want to do is produce an unsafe water and allow your people to drink it. What we need is a better way to track and predict these cyanobacteria entries from our source water so that we can make sure that this never happens again.
A lot of times we'll find out after the fact that there's a problem with cyanobacteria in the water because the blooms already occurred. We either get results of sick animals or sick people. We need a paradigm shift. We need to go from being constantly reactive to these blooms to having a capability that allows us to become proactive. And the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has been very encouraging of allowing for some high-risk, high-reward projects. And that allowed us to think outside the box, way outside the box. We've been fortunate enough to make use of a sensor on the International Space Station called HYCO, which stands for the Hyperspectral Imager for the Coastal Ocean.
HYCO consists of 2 instruments. One is a camera, and the second instrument is a spectrophotometer, which actually gives us the spectrum of light leaving that water.
The camera on a cell phone, for example, contains about 3 bands of data in a red channel, a green channel, and a blue channel.
HICO gathers light from the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet parts of the spectrum. So using this technology, we're able to now detect those water quality parameters such as water clarity, what the phytoplankton concentration is in your water, how much light is being absorbed in your water, as well as what's the distribution of cyanobacteria in those waters, and does that concentration pose a health hazard?
So what this means is instead of waiting for someone to report that there's a problem with cyanobacteria bloom, we can monitor these water bodies from space
and get information that we can rapidly get out to the water quality managers through a smartphone application that we've developed.
So the app allows you to drop a pinpoint, and that pin can be placed in an area where a drinking water treatment plant may have an intake, and see what the current water quality conditions were. Each user gets that information near real time, so they can make judgment calls on whether they have to respond or take action.
Having the HICO on the International Space Station has been the ideal test bed for our research.
This is an amazing partnership. The Naval Research Laboratory had HICO on NASA's International Space Station. As HICO acquired a scene, it was transferred to the Naval Research Laboratory. And then the Environmental Protection Agency was able to do the analysis and the validation to send this information out through a prototype mobile application. Yes, this technology will reduce costs and provide near real-time information. But the big goal here is protecting humans. And if we can reduce exposures both to humans and even animals, then we've achieved our goal.
Our International Space Station is an unprecedented research platform in space, allowing researchers and scientists to conduct experiments that can't be done anywhere else. Utilizing the ISS as a ready-built platform for studying the Earth is well underway. So far, we've learned about iServe, Planet Lab's Dove satellites, and HICO. 2 more experiments, or payloads in NASA speak, are on schedule to get to the ISS later this year. There's SAGE 3 and Lightning Imaging Sensor. SAGE 3 will measure ozone and other gases in the upper atmosphere to help scientists assess the ozone layer and how it's recovering. And that Lightning Imaging Sensor will monitor global lightning for Earth science studies and support operational weather forecasting and warning. Looks like utilizing the ISS to further benefit all of humankind? It's right on track. Thanks for joining us on Station Life at our behind-the-scenes look at using the International Space Station as a platform for studying the Earth. And be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest research news. And don't forget to download our straight-up gangsta app on your mobile device. It's totally legit. Until next time, we're working off the Earth for the Earth.
Ever think you might want to be a scientist? Or that you could work with NASA? Well, thanks to citizen science programs, you can. Find out how next on Real World. When you picture a scientist, what comes to mind? A person in a white coat? Someone stuck in a lab? Actually, scientists are pretty interesting people doing some really amazing work. And while some scientists do work in a lab, others work in the field, under the water, or on the computer, the one thing scientists all have in common is that they're looking for answers to some serious real-world problems. But sometimes they need help, so they turn to citizen scientists to assist with their research. So what is a citizen scientist?
I think people are aware that NASA has many different missions. We have missions to Mars, we have missions to Saturn, we have many different missions that are observing Earth. There's all this data coming in, and quite honestly, scientists don't have time to go through it all themselves, and we need people to look at this data to tell us what discoveries might be waiting there for us. So this is a way for the general public to do serious, publishable science with us, results that we need.
One of the longest running citizen science programs is GLOBE, or the Global Learning and Observations to Benefit the Environment program. GLOBE students from around the world conduct research to measure and monitor changes in their environment. These citizen scientists learn to use specific tools before they go out in the field or begin their work on a computer. And they follow a protocol, which is a special set of steps to do their research. Think of a protocol just like following a recipe for a cake. But why are protocols so important?
The most powerful thing about science is that it is a tool to actually discover things about reality. But we all need to make the same measurements in the same way. You have to design an experiment so that anybody, anywhere in the world could do it the same way and get similar results. There's a thing called a scientific protocol, and this means that wherever you are, we're using the same tools with the same precision, and that means we can all compare our results. For example, let's say that somebody asked you to measure the temperature of where you are. Are you measuring in Celsius or Fahrenheit? What time of day did you take the measurements? Did you do it at nighttime or during the daytime? If we simply ask people what temperature is it, we get all kinds of numbers that don't make sense. But if we specify it needs to be this accurate, you need to use these units, you need to measure at this time of day, then all of a sudden we can bring all of this information together and compare it and find trends and make real discoveries about what the world is doing. That's the power of the precision of the tools of science, and that's what a scientific protocol really means.
Citizen science projects may also require you to practice some of your math skills. NASA School, for example, may ask you to estimate the percentage of cloud cover in the sky. Another project might ask for the percent of a leaf that has been damaged by ozone. When the same scientific protocols or steps are used to collect data, that data can be analyzed by scientists to help them better understand the problem they're trying to solve. So what are some other opportunities for citizen scientists to collaborate with NASA?
So which citizen science project should you choose? Well, this is your chance to do a little shopping and let your own curiosity be the guide. The wonderful thing about citizen science is you don't need any special skills to get involved. You, as you stand right now, are prepared to do these projects with us. To me, you really need some curiosity. Are you curious about the planets or about the Earth or the universe? And if you can give us some precision, do the measurements as carefully as you possibly can, that will give us the best results. But you need no special training. Start it tomorrow.
It's pretty easy to get started. Just go to the NASA Citizen Science website, pick a program that catches your interest, then be sure to make careful observations and follow the protocol exactly. Get out there and help. You really can make a difference. See you next time on Real World.
Hey, you're watching NASA TV, on the air and online every day, on this planet and beyond.